As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
All right. Welcome to the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders post-game show. I am Jeff Iafrate. That is Lukas Klotz. Appreciate all you for tuning in on a terrible time right now for Lions fans. An upsetting loss. They lose to the Washington Commanders in the worst way possible. And Klotzy, this is terrible. This is a team that was the number 1 seed. This was a team that was favorited to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this right now. I'm not here to do what I told you so today. That's not what this is. A frustrating time. Okay. We're going to talk about the defense. We'll talk about the offense. I tweeted something out on my Twitter kind of going off a little bit. We'll get into it, but what's your initial reaction to that? Whatever you just witnessed.
The most just disappointing game I've ever watched as a sports fan. Regardless of what team I've always liked the Lions, but I'm saying in any sports, basketball, baseball, UFC fight, you name it. This was the most disappointing sports event I've watched in my entire life. This was a team in the Detroit Lions that was 15-2, won the NFC North, won the NFC Conference, gets the first round bye, and you beat it, or you lose to a team, get beaten by a team with a rookie quarterback, and you get shredded by Austin Eckler. You get shredded by Brian Robinson. Terry McLaurin goes off. I'm not too mad at that because he's an all-pro wide receiver. And then offensively, that's what you do.
Yeah.
They put up a lot of points, the Lions did tonight, but that was not the Detroit Lions offense. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell need to look themselves in the mirror, and I already know that they're going to. That's the type of coaches they are. Mm-hmm. This loss is on them completely.
Yeah.
Like, Goff did not play well.
No,
I will say that.
He did not. No.
But what you look at, just like, it's 4th and fucking 2 inside the 10-yard line. The Washington Commanders could potentially go and get stopped on 4th down. You steal the momentum back and you take the lead in the game. But what do? You have 12 men on the field.
Yeah.
And the biggest moment of the season. When have you seen that all year? When have you seen Jared Goff have a completely clean pocket? He had to step up, but then he overthrows Tim Patrick by 3-4 yards above him. Goes into Mikey Sanders still. And it's a pick six. It wasn't Mikey Sanders, so there's safety, but it's a pick six.
Yeah.
And Jared gets clocked during it. So he goes off on the sideline. And somehow with Jared Goff on the sideline, this team scores the most electric play of the game with Jamison Williams going 60 yards. Like today literally made no sense. Booner was talking about it right before we started, and I agreed with him. There was no shot, I thought, at this actually happening, let alone like the Commanders winning by like 3. But we talked about it as the Lions, like it's belt to ass for 4 quarters. The Commanders stand no chance. The Lions got the belt to the ass for 4 quarters. The first drive was like 1:30 and they punted.
Yeah.
Saw a great Jack Fox punt. But then after that, it was the Jaden Daniels show.
I mean, that's a failure of a season. I mean, they failed. Everything, the 15 wins, it was awesome. But that was a choke job. Honestly, one of the worst choke jobs I think I've seen in a long time. I think that has to be up there for one of the worst choke jobs. I'm talking about from a team that had the number 1 seed, the hype was around them, the offense, Ben, AG in the cycle, like the hype around the Lions, how good this team is. Like, take away my concerns. Just the obvious. It's like, this is a damn good team. There's so many angles. Like, and I think what people are going to do, I can already see it, Klotzy. The next couple of days, people are going to argue about semantics. Like, oh, it was more Jared Goff. It was more the defense. Oh, the coaches were out coached. No, they weren't, because Goff turned the ball over 4 times. Guys, this is what I learned. It's a very valuable lesson. Everything can be true. Everything's true. The defense shit the bed. I knew that was going to happen. What I didn't know what was going to happen is this offense looking that bad. Like, we argued about, like, my biggest concern was this Lions offense. It's a margin for error is so small.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make mistakes because this defense allowed 4. It was 4-4 in the red zone for the Commanders. So they were converting everything. That's a problem. I didn't know Goff would play like that. But even if he does have a turnover, you can't count on this defense to get a stop. Like, you can't. This isn't a Super Bowl defense. There's no way. And by the way, Goff played. That ain't a Super Bowl quarterback. No way they're winning the Super Bowl this year with that offense doing what they did. Ben Johnson, the trick plays, ridiculous. A couple of those were ridiculous. Not doing it. What it was. Yeah, yes. The Jamison Williams throw was dumb. He has never. That's never been I mean, especially Jamison, one of their younger players. Like, why put him in that position? You had David Montgomery throw a touchdown pass earlier. He played quarterback. Like, let's keep it somewhat, sophisticated, I guess. So Ben's overthinking. He's doing ridiculous things. AG crapped the bed too. I mean, from a coaching perspective, like they 12 men on the field in one of the biggest moments in the entire game.
The fact that you just refuse to call a timeout. Kelvin Shepard, Sean Dion Hamilton are both on the sideline screaming their heads off, but nobody calls a timeout. Tom Brady was in the booth when he first saw the personnel come. I was like, oh, they better call a timeout. They better call a timeout. It's 4th and 2 inside the 10-yard line. They better call a timeout. And then you see Maurice Norris trying to get off the field. It's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late.
I want to say this, too. Commanders fans, a lot of them are joining. I know they're going to – by the way, congratulations. I mean, this Commanders team earned that. They did. They took it. They went into Ford Field. By the way, just glossed over that. It was at Ford Field. It was at home.
What we glossed over all season is the Lions were undefeated on the road, but their only losses came at home. And we were acting like this was just – like the crowd is loud, yes.
And
the blueberries are sweet.
And I think a home field advantage, I think we would all agree, is the best. I think, if not the best, one of the best in the NFL. Didn't even matter today. Jane Daniels did not look like a rookie. We talked about that. I mean, we had a lot of respect for Jane. We knew he'd play well today. Not this well. But they got outclassed. They looked like the team. They looked like what the Commanders were supposed to look like, and the Commanders looked like what the Lions are supposed to look like on the road.
The Lions came in. The Lions are a team that I think at this point in the stage of where they're at as a team is the team that's used to punching up, the team that's doubted, the team that nobody's given a chance. Yeah, they're a really good team, but they want this year, 15-2, number 1 seed. The only way that you can describe this game is the Lions overlooked the Commanders.
They did. Off a bye, man.
You can talk about how bad the Lions played tonight, but you have to give all the credit in the world to the Commanders because Dan Quinn was the better head coach. Cliff Kingsbury was a better OC. I don't know the Commander's DC name off the top of my head.
Whatever
he
was, yeah.
Well, anything that Jane Daniels, better quarterback. The only thing the Lions had better than the Commanders in this game was probably Jahmyr Gibbs.
But the thing, go on, sorry.
I would say, like, when you look at Amon-Ra and Terry McLaurin had, like, a game-changing play.
Yeah,
and I'm not blaming Amon-Ra. This is, again, kind of going back to Ben Johnson. What scares you about the Detroit Lions? The two guys who scare you the most, Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra. It never felt like Jahmyr Gibbs was in a rhythm in that first half. In the second half, where the fuck was he?
They got away from their best playmakers.
You have David Montgomery on the field. This is not a diss to Dave. He's hurt. Yes, he's back, but he just is coming back from an injury. You think he's just going to be ready to fucking go? No. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who has scored 8 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, and it's not like he's had 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's had over 100 scrimmage yards in all of those games. In the first half, basically, he had 140 total yards. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like, staying with D-Mont. D-Mont's really good. Let's run the ball with them when we're down 2 possessions and kill the clock. Go to Tim Pat. They lost their identity in the biggest half of their season. They've been so good at adjusting at halftime, coming back defensively, having an answer. They were down in Houston, shut them out to no points in that second half. Offensively, we're able to turn it around. Even when Goff came out that second half in Houston, he turned the ball over, but they still had an answer. They had no answer tonight, personnel-wise or coaching-wise. But I just think they didn't play to their strengths. They really didn't. Offensive line, the best offensive line in football, and I will stand by that. Not tonight. Not tonight. At least in pass protection.
I'll say this, boys. First off, hats off to the Commanders. Dan Quinn. We had talked about we were at the Combine and got to kind of rub shoulders with Dan Quinn. What he has done in Atlanta, what he's done now in Washington, Dallas while he was there. One of the best coaches in the NFL, in my opinion. I've been saying that for a while. You guys know that. I think Dan Quinn deserves so much respect around the NFL that he wasn't getting before. So shout out to him. Commanders fans, I'm sure I'm not looking in here. I don't know. I'm sure we have a lot
They're there. Don't you worry.
I'm sure we have a lot of Commanders fans.
As they should be. We're just saying, like,
Yeah.
If
so
I was a Commanders
shout
fan,
out
I'd be
to
going
them.
nuts right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, they're in the NFC Championship game. It was like us last year. Like, we said last year, hey, last year was what the Commanders are this year. And yeah, they're going to the NFC Championship game. Respect out to them. Played a hell of a game. Jaden Daniels, guys, is going to be an insane quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Only as a rookie. I'm going to say this, though, Detroit Lions-wise. And I see people already in the chat, and I knew this was going to happen to me. It happened to me not last year because they called the NFC Championship game, but I knew it was going to happen at some point, and I was going to have to face the music about the Booner path, this and that, whatever. Listen, and I'm not going to say justify the Booner path. Part of that whole thing is like, all right, something like this happens. One, that's unacceptable from Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to keep sticking to this point right here. The best season in franchise history quickly turned into the most disappointing season you've ever seen in franchise history. There is no season more disappointing than the one we just had.
Yeah.
Because you are 15-2. Who cares?
Yeah.
You had the 1 seed. Who cares? You won the NFC North. I said it all year. People laughed at me saying, oh, I don't care about the NFC North. Like, I never did. Don't care. All that mattered was going to win a Super Bowl this year. That's it. Is winning a Super Bowl. You fell short, and you didn't just fall short. Someone sitting next to you tied your shoelaces together, and you got up to try and go to a Super Bowl, and you tripped and you fell, and you looked like a loser, and you looked terrible doing it, and you embarrassed yourself in front of the whole NFL community, in front of everyone. Just when you thought, hey, Lions aren't the joking stock of the NFL anymore, you get the 1 seed, 15-2, and you go out there. And what frustrates me the most, boys, and I'm going to say this too, like, what frustrates me the most about all of this, it's not that, like, hey, we went in there, hard-fought game. No, it was, you had a week off. You had offensive coordinators going out for interviews. You had defensive coordinators going out for interviews, and you showed up, and defensively you got out coached. Offensively you got out coached. Dan Campbell got out coached. Was supposed to be coach of the year, might still win coach of the year, gets out coached. It was an embarrassing fashion the way you lost this football game. It wasn't like, hey, you played a hell of a game, you went out there and you played a tough game, they just played a better game. No, you had 5 turnovers on offense. Defensively, you couldn't stop a nosebleed. You didn't have the personnel, Brad Holmes, to go out there and get a stop. I don't care about the injuries. You couldn't get the job done, and you got embarrassed doing it. Dan Quinn wiped it all up and embarrassed us. You got embarrassed by the Commanders at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's the part about it. It's where you have to go into this offseason, and you have to figure something out. Because a year ago, you would have 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game, boys, and you blew that. A year later, you're 15-2. You have the 1 seed, home field advantage, and you blow that. There's no more like, hey, next year. Get the job done.
Yeah, and
you get paid millions of dollars to go make plays and turn the franchise. The franchise is turned around. Now you go win.
I mean, you see what's holding this team.
That's embarrassing.
You see what's holding this team back. It's very clear. And I have a bigger sample size with this than I do Goff. Because Goff, at least in Detroit, because Goff last year through the playoffs played really well.
Yeah.
Got to an NFC Championship game, and you were up 17. This year, this one game you played, Goff shit the bed. Now people can point it was Goff. By the way, not excusing that. He crapped the bed. It was an awful game by Goff. But one thing is for certain, the last 2 playoff games for the Lions, opponents have scored almost 80 points.
Yeah, it's insane.
That needs to change. And I know some of that was pick 6. I understand one of those was a pick 6, so 7.
But
7.
Either
we'll
way,
go 70
they put up if
that's too many
39 points.
Like
38
now,
points.
even if and by the way, I everything can be true. I said this while you were gone, and this is where I was going with this.
Yeah.
People are going to argue the next couple of days. I already know how this is going to go. It's going to be the Goff crowd. There's going to be the defense crowd. There's going to be the out coaching crowd. But guess what? Everything can be true.
It's where
everything happens.
What is the conversation I told you at
true.
halftime? We're going back and forth with defense can't get a stop, offense is turnovers. No, this is a team effort here. Is why you lost the game, and it was like that. Like we saw it with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
We saw it now, and it's like you can use the excuse, and there's going to be Lions fans out there, and not even just Lions fans, people who cover the team, people who cover this, who cover that, and they're going to be like, well, man, and they're going to switch quick. Oh, the 20 injuries, the 20 IR guys. You know what? Like, and I've told you this, Jeff. Like, it could quickly turn, and I respect you for being honest about it all season. But the thing is, like, the matter of the fact is, it's like, you can have the injuries. All right, if you're going to tell me the injuries were the problem this whole time, please tell me how you're feeling right now. Like, are you okay with the game that just happened? Because I'm not. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, just the injury. No. Like, you still have to step up and win football games.
Because that's a team that you're clearly better than. Like the Lions, even with the injuries, were favored by, what, 8.5?
It's 9.5 at one point.
You're at home.
You can't use injuries as an excuse when you get to that point.
Even with the Meek Robertson, because I made it when we were on the live stream, I said it, and I still believe it. Okay, maybe if Carlton Alim and Aiden Hutchinson are back, maybe when they get – if Aiden Hutchinson plays today, they still don't win that game. The way that they showed up, they completely just slept walk. Yeah. They slept walk. You've been able to see teams with the 1 seed start off slow, but they answer. They find the rhythm. The Lions never found the rhythm. And I want to have this conversation now. The fact that Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson both look that bad, any chance that both of them come back, both of them go, where do you stand on that after watching that? Because we saw last week, I know it's different player to coach. Caleb brought this up too. You saw Sam Darnold. He was about to go get paid $50 million. He pick where he wants to go. Now Sam Darnold's going to get there. Like the stock dropped so significantly because it was in the biggest moment. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, they're still good coordinators, great coordinators, but do you think they come back?
You know what it looked like? I'm going to say this real quick before I answer that question. You know what it looks like last week? AG and Ben took all these interviews. I know it's how it works. I'm not, but I'm just saying, you know what it looked like today? That their mind was in a different place. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like not saying that's a fact, but it just I'm just kind of telling you a feeling. It's like, dude, and I understand it. Like you have an opportunity to take a head coaching job. It's massive. That's probably where your mind was at Thursday and Friday. Like I got an interview for the Patriots. I have to crush this. Like, dude, they looked both sides. Ben too. Ben and AG. And I mean, there's times like where again, Dan's the overseer, so he gets blame as well. Like Dan Quinn, credit to them. Credit to Dan Quinn. It's from top
to bottom.
Yeah.
You talk about it. This is supposed to be, and fellas, this is where it's really frustrating. Is you had a head coach who potentially is going to win head coach of the year, right? Yeah. You have Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, who is out there interviewing for 8 jobs over the last week. You have Ben Johnson, who's going to potentially be a head coach and go interview for 5 or 6 jobs, and all 3 of those guys have been out coached today. Every single one. And player-wise, guys missing it was like you have the week
Simple
off.
Stuff. Simple
it was
stuff, yeah.
Turnovers. We talk about turnovers all year. Jared Goff, 4 turnovers. The JMO play. Like it felt like unnecessary play when you're going down to keep the ball game a ball game and you make a bad play. But the disappointing part of all of this is you go through a 15-2 season and it's the same thing as last year.
For the 28th draft pick.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as last year. And it's like, hey, like Brad Holmes, like you need to go get a defense. Like we talk about the thing in the offseason that we talk about all the time with these guys is listen, depth. All right, offensively, we have depth, correct guys? Yeah. But defensively, you don't have depth.
Yeah, they're
none.
They have too many injuries.
Even with all the injuries, it's like, hey, like you're trying to figure this out. You don't. And it's like to Klotz's point, in the draft, you shouldn't even think about offense. It should be defense all across the board.
It's got to get stops.
Yeah.
I hope this isn't people thinking I'm overreacting. No, this was brutal tonight. And I've been the one guy in the city of Detroit and probably in sports media in Detroit that's been one of the most positive guys all season long. And if they would have lost and it would have been like a 1-possession game, it's like, man, they didn't have the turnovers. You're playing good offensively, defensively. And, if it was like a 27-24 loss, a 21-17 loss, I would have been like, man, that was a tough game. That you shot yourself in the foot. You got out-coached. You got embarrassed.
Yeah.
I've never gone at the Lions like this, but you got embarrassed tonight.
And this is what I want to make. I'll let you go. I just want to say this for people because we have a ton of people in here, almost 1,000 people. So appreciate all you for tuning in. By the way, subscribe. And this is going to be a venting session. There's no one that's going to sit here
long season
after a long season, seeing what just happened, and we're going to sit up here. And just be like, well, guys, it was a good year. Welcome, guys. And for those, and not everyone, there's a lot of people in the chat that get this, but I'm going to explain this to people that don't get it. The Lions are officially in another category. They're in the Super Bowl or bust category.
Yes,
welcome to
being
a franchise that's relevant. Now, if you fall short like you did, there's no pom-poms and, good job. You lost, you failed. Yep. The season's a failure. That is where the Lions are. And by the way, that's where I like them to be. I like this. This is not like the loss, but I like being in this. This is the air we're breathing. It's Super Bowl or bust. and to look like that is massively disappointing. If there's anyone in the chat that actually believes I'm going to sit up here, good job, guys, you fought hard, it's not happening. That'll happen after we recover from what we just saw. We just sat through one of the worst performances we've seen.
And honestly, like when the Super Bowl is being played, this is why I was getting like nauseous, because it's like this team was good enough to make the Super Bowl. Like I still think after what, like, that was not the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions that you saw through the regular season was good enough to make the Super Bowl. And if I see the Kansas City Chiefs 3 years in a row, the Philadelphia Eagles host the Lombardi Trophy, I'm going to be disgusted. Because this was even with
Commanders.
The injuries on
I'm all in on that.
I want the Commanders too, because we talked about it too. Like the Commanders, Detroit Lions. Like the Commanders were the team that was 12-5. Like they have 12 wins, but they're not good enough to do it.
Yeah.
They can't go into Ford Field. That was the Detroit Lions through everything, it seems like, over the last couple of seasons. And they went from the number 2 pick to going 12-5, beating the number 3 seed. They just beat the number 1 seed. And now they're either going to play the 2 seed or the 5 seed. And honestly, the way that they've played Philadelphia, I would not be surprised if the Commanders beat Philly in Philly. I don't think they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose.
Real quick, and I'm going to throw this up on the. I don't want to mispronounce the name, but said you cannot put this loss on Brad Holmes. He tried to get us depth, but our reserves were getting hurt. We just got out coached. I think that's true. Like, I'm with you. Like, Brad Holmes obviously did everything he could to build it. He's the one that built this team. But I do think there's a sense of it as well, like through the draft and stuff. Like, guess who was not able to play today? Broderick Martin.
Yeah.
Like, there are guys
Giovanni Manu.
Yeah, Giovanni Manu. Like,
and I love him, but what was Sione Vaki doing?
But there are just guys where it's like, hey, the approach is, hey, you've turned the approach of last draft to let's develop. And again, this is not me blaming Brad. I think Brad's done. We're in the position we are because of Brad Holmes. But when you start looking at like this offseason, building a team, the next offseason, trying to just build and build and build.
Yep.
You have to look at, hey, we need guys that can help. Defensively, you need guys that can help yesterday. Because of if there were injuries, and it was a historically year to where the injuries, like, no one's ever seen injuries like that. But the number one thing, boys, and I'm going to keep going back to it, and I'm sorry for being repetitive. Dan Campbell got out coached. The staff, Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, 4th and 2, the biggest play of the game. To have 12 guys on the field is embarrassing. That's unacceptable.
And I'll say this.
Unacceptable.
I'll say this about Brad Holmes. The disappointing thing, and tell me if you're with me or not on this. This defense he built to start the year, and let's just say hypothetically you have no injuries and they add Za'Darius.
Yeah,
we're happy with what he's got. But it's so like I thought he built a pretty good defense. Like,
so
but
the one thing we always said all year was when they're healthy next year, that defense, if they stay healthy, next year's team's going to be better than this year's team by a mile.
Yeah,
and they went 15-2 this year.
Yep.
But the thing is now right? You need to go get depth, because if something starts happening again next year, like your corners, to Klotz's point during the season or during the game, you have Brian or Iffy Malfon will get hurt, right? And guess who's in? Maurice Norris.
Yeah, I don't think he's played.
Maurice Norris in the playoff game when you're down in all year. I haven't seen Maurice Norris play.
Either.
Number 2, obviously Carlton Davis goes down, and you're Terion and Amik. Now you were one corner away from having to go back to Kendall Vildor, who lost you an NFC Championship game last year. That's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
You should never be in that position.
No, it is.
If you're a Super Bowl contender, you can't be in that position.
It is. I mean, the D is a combination. And for those who are just joining, and I want to make this very clear again, because I'm going to be hammering this, because we're going to discuss a lot of angles today. And if you're tuning in, there's multiple reasons why the Lions lost, Caleb.
Yeah.
Multiple reasons.
It's not, team.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you got out coached. Your defense crapped the bed, just like they did 3 of the last 4 before the end of the season, or 4 of the last 5. I'll go. Or 3 of the last 5. I'll give them Chicago. Chicago, they played pretty well. So 3 of the last 5. And your offense, Jared Goff played awful. He played like garbage today. And Ben Johnson, I mean, it goes with the coaching staff. So I think so people that are out there, the defense, Goff, coaching, it's everything.
Everyone.
It was I would use this term, and I don't use it lightly. It was a meltdown. It was an absolute meltdown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What? Oh, what you?
Yeah. You got out-coached. You got outplayed at your home place. Blindsided, obviously.
that wasn't expecting this outcome. I wasn't expecting us to be having a conversation like this. But you're right. It was a meltdown. I mean, you even see like the perfect example is having the 12 guys on the field on that third or fourth down
Like
or whatever
that.
it was, like stuff like that. Like that's stuff that just never happened. Like the Detroit Lions, they played discipline all year. And yeah, I mean,
No,
you want to see that. And by the way, I am getting absolutely
I mean, I'm
murdered right now.
I get it, dude. You have
Look at
21.
that.
Why? What happened?
I mean,
So you made a video and you're getting murdered.
No, I made a tweet about Jalen Hurts a month ago or something. Eagles Twitter found it.
Oh no.
And and look, rightfully so, they're having an absolute field day.
As Lions fans would too.
They're having an absolute field day.
It comes with the territory, people. You knew what you signed up for.
Bring it on.
We had the Lions number one in the power rankings. This was the favorite heading into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was the best team, and the Commanders were the better team. And we keep glossing over this. They were the better team at home, on the road. Like on the road. When you talk about the Lions being undefeated on the road, the Commanders just came into Ford Field. I would say, honestly, boys, I don't know where you'd rank them. I think one of the toughest places to play. I think it's up there. If you want to go
that's why
one
I
or
give
two,
them
whatever.
so much respect.
They went in
right
here
now.
and
I felt like
yeah.
Ford Field was, and there is that side to where it's like, well, you lost 2 games in Ford Field this year.
The Lions
this
just
is
crapped the bed.
You've lost 3 games all year, and guess what? They were all at Ford Field.
Yeah,
but to me, you just got to figure this out. Like the defensive line again, there was like Jaden Daniels cut you up all game long. The defense,
and I'll even say this about the offense too. The offensive line, dude. Like the run blocking early, they're doing a great job. Jared Goff, I want to see how much pressure he was under all game. I mean, this dude, and yeah, I would put that on Goff too. I get he didn't play well, but this offensive line, the pass blocking was awful.
Can I ask?
Awful today.
Can we have this conversation? Because I'm interested to know
Go
where
ahead.
you guys are. This right here, Jeff.
Throw it up.
Dave, shout out Dave for tuning in too. Make sure you subscribe.
Dave!
He said, Booner, just admit you were wrong about paying Goff. He was under contract and no one else was going to pay him that much. Dump move. I would like to know where you guys are with that, because I'm not going to say, hey, I was wrong about Jared Goff. Today was brutal. I will say that. But like last year, look at the NFC Championship game last year. Like that wasn't his fault we lost, right? Like that was 2 drop passes, the PI call. Like there were things. Like Jared played a good game last year in the NFC Championship game. I'm not going to take, and I told Caleb this too when we were off air. He asked, like, what's this Jared Goff conversation now? I'm not going to say like the Jared Goff thing. It's like he's not going to. I still think you can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
You can.
And again, today, I've been as mean and as bad as I ever been to the Detroit Lions. But I'm still going to take a step back and say, you can still win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
You know what's tough for me?
And I will be always honest with that.
You know what's tough for me? Because I agree with you. The thing that's tough for me, and people keep bringing up, which Jared Goff, like it's hard. If this is what happened last year, they would have a case. Like, oh, this dude crapped the bed. Like I can't go that route. Like we watched him last year play well. Like you know what I mean? I can't do it. I can't do it.
This year he had what 2 bad games in 18 games.
Are you saying we all agree? He played like garbage. He deserves a lot of blame for this loss.
He played bad. Dan Campbell, that was the worst coaching job I've seen out of that coaching staff in years.
Yep.
Does that mean we fire Dan Campbell and he's not the guy? No. It's the same thing with Jared Goff. Just because he had this bad game in a big moment, you're not going to say you're fired, you're done.
No, you're pointing out what you see.
You still know Dan Campbell's your head coach, and the same thing, you still know Jared Goff's your quarterback for the next few years. And you could still go in and win with them. And there's no changes in my mind to that. And listen, Jeff, you were right. There's going to be a big Jared Goff crowd out there.
There is. I already know
Goff out of town. We know how it is. And I said it earlier this week that there are people who live in this glorious world when Jared Goff has those 2 or 3 bad games a year where they're like, he can't do it. He's not it. He can't do it. Let's not do
you really
that.
think Jared? I'm sorry, Caleb. I just want to say real quick. Do you really think Jared, like at this point in his career, he's been to a Super Bowl, he's played a ton of playoff games, he's played well in the playoffs with the Lions. Like, do you really think Goff went out there and just shit the bed? Like he. When I say shit the bed, I mean the moment was too big for him. Like, no, it wasn't too big for him. He just played like garbage. Yeah. You know, like that happens. But Jared, I think what the reality is we've seen moments this year. I know it wasn't a playoff game, but the Bills game, Jared balled. The Minnesota game, Jared. Well, he had the pick, so he didn't play his best, but he played good enough to win. I mean, and the defense played really well. They put up 30 points, 30-something points. So Jared, I understand why people would blame Jared. He played like garbage. He played like garbage. But to just kind of, this is what frustrates me. All right, it's now not like last year. Okay, with the 49ers, you're up 17. They come back, you lose. Everyone's like, well, the Josh Reynolds drops. We start bringing up stuff that's, it's real. It's a reason. But this year, no one mentions the defense. This year, all this stuff's transpiring. No one wants to mention the defense still. Not you guys in the chat, but there's people out there that want to ignore the defense. Guys, it's multiple things. It's the defense with the injuries. It's too much. It's Goff playing the way he played. It's the coaches. It's all three of those things, dude. You got the trifecta. That's why it's called a meltdown. It's shit the bed. Everywhere. At home. So it's not one thing, Caleb. It isn't. People are going to argue about it, but it's not one thing. It's multiple things.
You're absolutely right. But one thing I do want to talk about, and I don't know how much you guys talked about it when I was out, but the Jared Goff, conversation, because, I was live this morning, Saturday morning, and, a point I made was, everybody says Jared Goff is great, but blah, blah, blah. Like, there were so many buts with Jared Goff, and I was saying, there shouldn't be any. But maybe there are. He is just very immobile, which is a big downside, especially in the playoffs, especially when your O-line takes a shit like that. But you know what? I'll say this at the end of the day: Jared Goff will be a guy that will win us a Super Bowl here. He has the intangible. He has everything it takes to do it. But today, the lack of athleticism, I think, from Jared Goff was really glaring.
Yeah, they got to him today.
I'm with you, Caleb. And this is where I just don't want people to overreact today with Jared Goff. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. The people, and you know what's going to be funny, Caleb? The people who were loving him for the months and the people who got on that side, they're going to jump right back off. Mm-hmm. Right back off. But I truly do think, guys, I'm in this thing. Like Dan Campbell, we're watching him at the press conference right now, and I'm obviously he looks done. He's like, this is tough. But Dan Campbell got I think the storyline of this, and if I had a headline of I was outcoached. There's nothing else to it.
No,
at the end of the day, nothing else to it.
That comes with the job. These things are going to happen where. And I mentioned this earlier, but it's still, I'm going to keep saying it, guys. It's like new air. Yep. You are now the hunted. There's going to be moments where you fall short. I know. And this is how I guess it's like a little, like one of those graphs that just go up. Everyone expects it to happen like that. Sometimes you got to go through some tough years, not tough years as in like the Lions had, but years where you fall short, even though you're a good team. Other fan bases and teams do that. This happens in the NFL. And it's shocking the way it happened, certainly. But the reality is you made it far last year. Everyone expected it just to happen this year. And you have to play your best consistently. There's going to be games like this where you don't, and now they understand it's going to bite you in the ass. So, again, there's going to be trials and tribulations, but ultimately, I agree, Dan will bring a Super Bowl home. He will. Brad will. Because he'll build the right team. And I really do still believe Jared can be the quarterback of a Super Bowl winning team. I do. But the reality is Jared has to play better.
Yeah.
The coaching staff has to be better. And you need to get a legit defense. What the Chiefs did to the Texans today is maul them. 9 sacks, completely maul. And I know that the Texans have had their problems. The Commanders obviously played a great game. But you need a Super Bowl defense, and I think they have it. The injuries just caught up to them, and at some point, those injuries just become too much. Yeah, Amik going down, that really, for me, that was a huge too.
The Amik one today was brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal.
And even though you look back a couple weeks ago at the Bills game, Carlton Davis, Aleem McNeil, that was, and respect to you. And hey, how often do I admit that I'm wrong, Jeff?
Not often.
Dead wrong.
But
that was. But no,
I was supposed to be proven wrong. Okay, that was supposed to be.
I understand, but we had the conversation. You're like, well, if this does happen, you're gonna have to admit you're right. Dead wrong, because that was what's the saying? That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yep.
And it was losing those guys in that Bills game, and it was the Aleem, the Carlton, now the Amik thing. And if you have those guys, I'm not saying this is differently. it's like you go into next year, you're going to have a hell of a defense. You're going to have a great offense still. Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell has a job to do this offseason. If Ben Johnson leaves and Aaron Glenn leaves, you have a job to do this offseason. You have to go out and get someone to go replace. You need to go get a legit DC. I'm not saying AG's a bad DC. I'm just saying you need to make sure next year you have someone if he leaves. And you need to make sure you have an offensive coordinator next year and an elite one.
Yeah.
Because you can't take a step back in that category. You cannot.
No.
And Dan needs to figure that out because I'm just going to be honest with you. We have a lot of people watching right now. I'm in shock. I'm still
as you should be.
I'm still and Tyler put it in the chat. Who was the guy that I've been saying? Rex Ryan.
So I didn't answer Klotzy's question when he asked it because he asked about the coordinators departing. And if I'm as of right now, if I'm AG, I'll just say what I would do. If I'm AG, I'm out. Okay, I'm leaving. Take a job. Go get paid. There's probably jobs he likes
Robert
right now.
Saleh's a good one.
And I think AG really is just ready to go. He's built for it. He's leaving. Ben Johnson, I mean, it'd have to be the Raiders, and maybe that there's interest there for him, but I still lean Ben comes back. I told before the stream ended, the watch party, I did say I think he came back last year for a reason when he could have left and he had just the same amount of jobs open. Yeah.
I think you are looking at it to where
like Ben to have their last game like that for both coaches is tough. Like that's a tough last game. Let's see. Trey Emerson says maybe Jeff, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen with Jared Goff. Sorry, not sorry. And this, okay. And let's have the conversation because we're gonna have it at some point. Might as well get on early on it. Like this Goff's conversation. Like how many games this year have we seen Goff, or at least in his career in Detroit? I guess last 2 years.
Okay.
Where you're watching the game and you're like, oh my gosh, this dude is playing terribly. How many games you think? So we have this year in this game, one. The Texans
last year Bears.
So 3.
Ravens last year
4. Okay, so
in the last 2 years 4.
So what are we? But
the people, let's just say 5 to be safe.
So we're basing, and then let's look at the postseason for Goff. Okay, you went to the postseason last year. He played really well. In his career with the Rams, he did not, but he's shown in Detroit lately he's been playing well. He's made a Super Bowl 2 in his career. He's won NFC Championship games. He's won playoff games, and he had an MVP-esque year and played well in some big games. Guys, I'm not even trying to come at you. Tell me the angle on that. Like, why the sudden the dude stinks? Like the contract, I get we could have a conversation and stuff like that, but why does the dude just stink all of a sudden?
I don't know. He's at the podium.
Did he suck today? Yeah. But is he just automatically a pedestrian? I mean, we came at Nick Wright for that. Now everyone's like, yeah, well, maybe he is a pedestrian.
He's not.
Like, what are we doing here, guys?
And this is what I hate about the NFL, and I love the fans that watch. But
I think the Lions would ask too. This dude was doing too much. Jared Goff, sorry.
No, I think he is. And there's a point though to where Jared Goff, you can't give Jared Goff his flowers for going 18 for 18. You can't give him his flowers. And all of you people, if there are people negative online about Jared Goff right now, I'm going to tell you what, you probably were trying to make a statement and an argument for him to win MVP this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you cannot be on that side of this. And when Jared Goff has a game like today in the playoffs, you can't be on that side of it. And that's just me being honest. And I'm not saying I'm going to tell you how to feel. You can feel how you want. If you want to be on either, to me, that's wrong. Jared Goff's your franchise guy. You paid him the money for a reason. Going forward, he just took you to the NFC Championship game last year. You just went 15-2. Yes, that was a disappointing loss. That was not falling off. If you're going to put a loss solely just on the quarterback, I get it. The interceptions, the turnover, I get it. But the man is playing an extreme. You're in the position that you were because of Jared Goff.
Yeah, two things can be true.
You are in the position because of Jared Goff.
He crapped the bed today.
And he was bad
today.
Doesn't
define
and
his
I'm
entire
sure he'll
career.
Say it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when he's playing at his best, he can win you a Super Bowl. And in the NFL, that's all you can ask for.
And like
Josh Allen. Are people saying Josh Allen's the worst quarterback in the league and you need to get rid of him because he can't win in the playoffs?
And I get people. But
what's the difference?
What do you got, guys? I think this is an issue. We have this conversation a lot. Okay, and I was one, and I've had my things about Jared Goff in the past. I've came around a lot because I gained a lot of respect for him. He's played well in some big moments, except for today, obviously. In Detroit, I will say. Rams, a different story. Why do people act like, and this happens a lot, they act like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson just grow on trees. Like there's three of those guys. 3. Okay, they're not, and there's guys that are very good. Like Jane Daniels, I think is going to be very good. Like where do you go from here? You don't. You're stuck with Goff. And honestly, I don't mean that about, because I think Goff, I still believe, and you may disagree, I think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl. But like, let's not what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're not getting Josh Allen. You're not getting Mahomes. Okay, you're not getting Lamar Jackson. And to get a Jane Daniels, you have to have the number 2 overall pick.
And look at the pieces.
Which they're not going to get.
A big thing is, you need the piece around Goff. Look at the pieces you have around him. You just locked up Amon-Ra St. Brown for 4 more years. Jameis Williams is only, 23, 24 years old. Sam LaPorta is only 24 years old. Penei Sewell, the best right tackle in football, is only 23 too. Yeah. Like, we're going to have these pieces for a long time. That's it. And, Goff's the guy here. He's going to get it done for us. That's just my opinion. You know what? After watching that, I could understand why some of you are going to be in the chat saying he's not the guy. But my personal opinion from watching Goff these past 2 years, like we said, only having 4 terrible games where we watched it and we were like, whoa, he is losing us this football game only 4 times.
But here's the reality, though, Caleb. I think you're with me on this. Goff is great. Okay. I think honestly, if you want to be realistic, like put him in top NFL QB terms, I think he's very good.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Very good. For a guy like, he's not someone. Number one, I think any quarterback, like even Mahomes, has had good defenses. That's why he wins. He's great, but look at the situation he's in. I mean, you need a good defense. You need a good O-line. Look at when he didn't have a good O-line. He got suffocated by the Bucs. So you need all these things. There's certain quarterbacks though that can overcome those things. Is Goff one of those guys? Is he Mahomes? Is he Josh Allen? Is he Lamar? No. You know what you need to get this man though, and he needs to play better. I understand that, but like, please, guys, has he had in his playoff career with the Lions? He's never walked into the playoffs, entered the playoffs because of circumstances with a good defense. Like, what are you expecting? He can't, you're asking him to do more than he actually is capable of.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just the reality. I mean, again, I don't want to excuse what happened today. I really don't, but I'm trying to give you some context here. Even Mahomes needs a defense. I mean, come on. And you think Goff's just going to be Superman all year. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's like a catch-22. Like there's multiple angles. They're all right. There's people out there that have different opinions. You're all right. Okay. I don't think unless you're really aggressive in one way or another. But this is
you're absolutely right. And
it's that's where I'm at with it, guys. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I just kind of yapped there, but it's true. I mean,
you're 100% right. I mean, there's to win in the NFL, you have to have full top to bottom. You have to be an all-around football team. Like the Eagles. You've been saying the Eagles the whole time. No offense, Caleb.
Just that defense I really talk
the Eagles.
About.
But what I'm saying is like
Caleb's getting bombarded on Twitter
which is what's crazy too. I think it was I think it was funny. Was it you that said, "Oh, Booner, you're probably gonna get the most hate," or who was that?
No, that was me. Yeah, I was like, they dug up a tweet from Caleb's Twitter grave, and it's coming back to haunt him. Right when we started the live stream for this, it was at like 11K, and I just checked it's at 50K. So like by the second, it's just multiplying. But
yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry, Klotz. I just want to finish what I was saying with Jeff. The thing with Jeff is just like you look at the Eagles defense. Stout defense. Even if there's injuries, Nakobe Dean down, and I know I said earlier, that's a big deal. Guess what? Next man up. They have dudes.
Yep.
Offensively, boom. Have guys to play.
Yep.
Someone goes down, boom. They're still winning. They're still efficient. You look at the Chiefs. Guess what? They were out without their number 1 corner. They were without Chris Jones for a little bit. They were without this guy, that guy. Their defense. Guess what? They still won games because of defense.
Yeah.
Offensively, wide receivers wiped out. Guess what? Still winning football games.
Because
I get Patrick Mahomes, but you have DC, OC. You have a great coaching staff. You have great players. If a guy goes down, you have depth. It's top to bottom in this league.
Yeah,
it's top to bottom in this league, and I'm starting to realize that a little bit more. Like, who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl? Listen, Chiefs going to be in the Super Bowl, and it's probably going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. And I would love the Commanders to do it. If you're a Commanders fan watching, I'm rooting for you. But now I'm starting to realize a little thing here. Some realization after this. Sometimes it takes something.
Epiphany.
Thank you, Klotzy. But it's you need to win a Super Bowl. It has to be top to bottom, and you've been trying to preach that to me since day one.
But you said it
listen.
You said it last year. What'd you say last year after the Lions playoff run? What'd you say going into the offseason?
You had to
defense.
You had to address it,
and I go the injuries did. They did.
But they didn't address it.
They did
all the way.
But the injuries just
you didn't address it all the way. You did what you could. Brad did what he could. But it's like, okay, who are behind these guys? You still went into the season with Kendall Vildor as your fourth guy.
And
that's unacceptable.
And what even like
that's unacceptable.
And this is a draft pick that you can't blame him, but this is a pick that will still look at because I don't know how he's going to fit in this defense. When you look at who did they take in the first round? Terion Arnold. And before I continue on this further, I'm not blaming Brad Holmes for this game. Terion Arnold.
Yeah.
What did they take in the second round?
Another corner. Yeah.
That corner was still hurt. Could you imagine taking a second round defensive end this year? Oh my God. And then you could go trade for and I know we're just picking apart, but I just think this philosophy of like, they need to address what they honestly need to. It feels like they're just trying to just build one thing together. Like you take two corners, you get a Marcus Davenport to fill in for that role at Aiden Hutchinson. And now no one ever thought of Aiden Hutchinson going down. He goes down. But then you look at the Giovanni Manu, the Sione Vaki picks. I'm not dissing those players by any means, but you could have took a guy who could have played out there tonight. You could have done something with that. And those guys are what is Sione Vaki ever going to really do?
I know, but let's keep it real right now. We got to be, and I know why I get it, but hear me out on this. They took Ennis Rakestraw with a second round pick. Brian Branch was a second round pick.
Right.
Where's Ennis Rakestraw been all year?
But where would he have played regardless? Think about the moves that they
late
made.
In the season, especially with the injury. He's just been injured.
Yeah, and it's he was a raw guy that was raw. He needed to develop. That's fine, but it's just okay, you just got a cornerback one. How many rookie corners do you want? I understand the Philadelphia Eagles have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but how many times have you seen two rookie corners out there once that were actually good ever?
It's rare.
And it's just and Brad, elite GM. I'm not denying that, but you can see kind of he's trying to prove himself. You're an elite GM, dude. You can get Christian Mahogany in the 6th round, but there's some of these development guys that you're just what's the plan here? Because you need to win now. At all times in the NFL, it's win now. It's win now. Unless you're in a rebuild, it's win now. It's win now. I think we need to see more win now moves out of him in the draft, especially this year on the defensive side of the ball. Because if not, this is what shows.
And the reality is, two things. Another, by the way, I've been using it a lot today. Two things can be true. All right, but it applies. The Lions have their window still open. It is. It's not over.
Well, actually, okay.
But
whoa,
I was coming in with the swinger.
Wait, we might have the same thing because I actually have something with that. And typically, I'm the guy that's the window's open for the 6 years. I have something.
Okay,
else.
so we might. So I'm going to say this. Maybe you won't agree. Maybe you will agree. Window's open right now until it isn't. Okay, there's no.
I've got something different.
And the only reason why it'll close and then it could reopen is because you're gonna have to eventually pay these guys. There's a lot of good players on this team. Okay, you got to pay both safeties. You got to pay Jamison at some point. You're gonna eventually pay LaPorta. You're gonna pay. You have Kirby coming up this year. It just gets difficult after a while. That's why they have a salary cap. For a reason. And guys are gonna take and get paid elsewhere. And Brad Holmes is going to have to consistently kind of fuel this roster, and then you get back into contention. It can happen. And then Goff's contract kicks in. By the way, Hutch has to be paid.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of things going against you. That's why, as much as I want to say the window's open, you do got to capitalize with this team. It's while they are obviously next year they'll be healthy, but they got to capitalize. I'm telling you with this roster, it's a good roster.
They got unless you want just real quick. I think they got to capitalize. But every team's facing that issue as well. Now, if you want to say the rookie quarterback contract, that's fine. How many? I mean, Jaden Daniels might, but how many of the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl on the rookie quarterback contract? None of them. They've all been extended. So it's at least that you're going to see. You got Lamar, Josh Allen.
But even Mahomes takes pay cuts.
Mahomes will, but at the end of the day, they're still going to have to pay people a lot of money. Mahomes will never be a bargain. You're still going to have to pay Patrick Mahomes a lot of money.
I want to throw this out there. And this alludes to what you said, Jeff, with the window. And I'm going to pull the chat up because I'm interested in what the people think.
Okay.
Tom Brady said something at the end of the game here that kind of resonated with me a little bit and stuck with me. And they asked him about the window. And if there's anyone in the NFL that knows, hey, you have a window, Tom Brady's in NFL history is probably that guy. Because he's been in windows, he's been out of windows. He's been in, he knows. And the one thing he said was, there are no windows in the NFL. When you start a new year, that is a new window. And I haven't heard anyone say it like that, because his point is you try and say, hey, let's build momentum off of last year. Let's build it off last year. Let's build it off last year. There isn't that in the NFL. You see teams, for example, go to the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers, one year, and then the next year have almost an identical roster and not even make the playoffs, and they're dead last in their division.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You see teams that are dead last in the NFL and get the number 1 overall pick, turn around and go to a Super Bowl. So, like, there's no windows that exist. It's, hey, this year you had one of the best opportunities in franchise history. 15-2, your roster, and yes, you had injuries. That was your window. And now guess what? Next year, you could have a 49ers year, right?
I see that.
And I think you're not going to, but I'm just saying in the NFL, anything can happen. Anything.
Yeah,
I get,
and you can't say your windows, oh, you're still open, you're still open. No, like every year, and Dan said it, and this is why I respect what we talked about at the end of the NFC Championship game last year, and you start to realize it's like, you lose that game, you have no clue what's going to happen next year.
No.
Just because you're in the NFC Championship game, just because the 49ers win the Super Bowl, doesn't mean you're guaranteed it next year. And you're going to deal with injuries, and you're going to deal with this. And the 49ers dealt with injuries. We dealt with injuries.
Right.
And now look, and that's where it's like every year you have to come ready to go. You have to have a roster from top to bottom. You have to have, if defensively our defense was not great, you have to have a defense from top to bottom. Your coaches have to be spot on. Everything has to work perfectly. And it was shown you had the best season in franchise history. You failed. It was a failure of a season. There was no window this year. It was failed. Done. And next year, you have to find a way to build that roster and that defense up to where, hey, now you open that window up and you have to go all in for it again. And you have to find a way to do it, because it's a completely different season next year. It's a different team. Most guys, Lions have like 15 free agents, like 10 guys. Or I don't know the exact.
I mean,
you
they
have
do,
a bunch of free agents.
And
Carlton Davis, Zadarius Smith, you can move on from. There are so many guys that made impacts this year that probably won't be on the team next year. Everything's going to be different. Everything. This was your chance. And this is why it's so disappointing. And Dan knows it. Jared knows it. AG knows it. Ben, this was your chance to go win a Super Bowl. And you flushed it down the toilet. You flushed it down the toilet. That was your chance.
yeah.
You had home field advantage. You were 2 games away at Ford Field of going to a Super Bowl. And you flushed it down the toilet.
Now, let me ask you this, though, Boone. I understand Tom Brady, the GOAT, probably one of the smartest people ever pick up a football. My thing is, like, I guess, yes, you could say there's not windows. Every year's a new window, but I do still believe that there's windows in the NFL, because as long as you have the pieces, you have a chance. Like, if you look at the Tennessee Titans, they technically have a window, but do they really? No. Like, the Lions are coming in personnel-wise, coaching-wise.
Every team that's good has a window. The bad teams don't. But it's like, how quick does that window close? Like, it resets every year. Every year,
you get a new situation, but again, like, this team lost arguably its best player in Aiden Hutchinson, and they still had a chance to go win a Super Bowl. So that's where it's just like the window is clearly open, and we've seen in Detroit for pretty much the whole history of the franchise, there's definitely a window, and we know what it's like not to be in one. So this is a different time. I think this is just part of, like, you got to learn how to grow. Like, this is still like a young coaching staff with Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. Will they leave? Will they go? We don't know. But still, like, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all these guys, Jameson Williams, for whatever reason, you have throwing on a 4th and 1. Ton of inexperience.
I'm not. This isn't me going at you. Everything you just said at the end there, gone. I don't care if it's an inexperienced coaching staff. Ben Johnson's been an OC for 2+ years now. AG's been a DC for 4 years. Dan Campbell's in year 4. He's supposed to win Coach of the Year this year. You were supposed to be the number 1 team in the NFL. You're 15-2. You have the 1 seed. There is no more excuses. There's no more excuses.
Let me ask you this
then.
then.
It's young. You're still building. No, you were the Super Bowl favorites, plus 200 to go to the Super Bowl. You were the favorite. There's no excuses. Like, I don't know what else is. No excuses.
What I'm saying is, for this game, absolutely not. But to say that there's no such thing as a window, I don't believe.
Well, obviously,
because
they can still go win it next year. I'm not saying it's completely gone.
I understand that, but to
there's
say,
no, like, hey, they're building still. No.
To say you don't care.
This year.
To say you don't care about playoff experience, I think it's crazy, because how many years did it take Sean McVay to win?
They had it last year. Like,
you're talking.
There is nothing you can say to me that's like, They didn't have the playoff experience. You are the Super Bowl favorites. There's nothing else to it. You're the favorites to win the Super Bowl going into this game tonight. You're a 9.5-point favorite. You got out-coached. You got outplayed. There's nothing else to it. Nothing. You were supposed to win the Lombardi Trophy, and you got blown out at home.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Booner. All those things are true, but my thing is,
I'm emotional.
Dan Campbell, how many seasons he been in the NFL for?
4. Listen, there's
hold on before you go on
tonight.
My point is,
nothing.
How many seasons and how many Super Bowls has Dan Quinn been in? My point is this. My point is this. There's one coach on the other side. This all comes down to just not having experience and being in that situation as a coach. The coaching staff from Aaron Glenn did not show up. Ben Johnson did not show up. Dan Campbell did not show up because they have not been in that 1 seed bye week. We're going to come off slow. We got to really kick it into fucking gear. That's what I'm saying. That was on display tonight. And that's why I'm saying is if you're going to be like, oh, yeah, there's no such – like, no. There's parts of where you got to grow. You got to lose on a fucking win. And they just got smacked in the face again. There's been no coach in NFL history to win a Super Bowl in 3 years. 0. 4 years.
Good thing
0.
you're in year 4.
0. 4.
I'm with
0.
you. You need to learn, but you're the Super Bowl favorites. There's no excuse. You need to learn how to win or lose. You need to learn.
To win a Super Bowl, you do, clearly.
Dan Quinn didn't go to a Super Bowl as a head coach before he went.
With the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm saying before he went with the Falcons, he did not go to a Super Bowl.
And he got out-coached by the better coach.
You're making excuses for them. There's no excuses. No excuses.
I'm telling you what happened.
No, you're trying to make excuses for them.
They were completely inexperienced in that situation.
You're looking to make excuses. That's what it sounds like.
What I'm saying is Ben Johnson, inexperienced in that situation, did not show up.
They were in the NFC Championship game. They learned
you're going up against a coach and Dan Quinn and all those coaches on that sideline.
I'm not yelling anymore. I'm not doing this. There's no reason behind it. There's nothing.
To say that inexperience has 0 factor is insane.
They were in the NFC Championship game, Klotz. They were Super Bowl favorites.
What were they last year? They weren't the favorites. They were on the road. This year, they're at home. They have not had that situation, being that this was a team that's constantly used to punching up.
If you're the best team in football, you don't lose this game.
Now they got big-headed. They got big-headed. They thought that they could look over the Commanders. They got smacked in the face because they have not been in that situation before. That is what happened on full display. Now, does that come down to Ben Johnson coaching? Absolutely.
There's just too many excuses. I can't do this.
How is that an excuse? That's the reason they lost.
They
don't know how to handle the pressure. Absolutely, they don't.
They were in the NFC Championship game.
When you look, that's one season in a completely different spot.
This is crazy.
I think I have a way to reunite the boys.
Yeah, break it open. Break it open.
Now, this is so. I want you guys to go at it.
I don't want to go at it, dude. I'm so far up. I've had a headache for the last hour, dude.
But
this is.
I gotta indulge. I gotta indulge, but drink responsibly. But this is one of those nights, fellas. You know, it's frustrating, and honestly, I'll say this about windows because I didn't get to respond to the Tom Brady thing. I think both things can kind of be true here. Every year is different. Okay, I say that because. I feel like a lot of NFL fans, guys, think the NFL goes like this. It's like when you're good, it's like progression. Everyone thinks, okay, first year you win a playoff game. Next year you make the NFC Championship game. Next game you win the Super Bowl. It's not like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of peaks, valleys, upsets. It sucks. It absolutely blows. And you can't predict injuries. So do I believe there are windows in the NFL? Yes, I do. Again, Tom Brady. I'm not saying I know
Klotz is arguing with me. I'm just saying what Tom Brady said. This isn't even my
I guess that we would agree. Me
Brady
and you,
said.
Klotz, disagree with Tom Brady if that's the case.
No more than Tom Brady.
I disagree with that statement. It's like, well, there's no windows. It's a new year, dude. He should know better. Tom knows how this works too. Injuries can happen. Players leaving for agency.
That was his point. That's his point with there's no windows. Is that injuries can happen. Players leave. You don't have the best year.
But I don't get how that makes sense.
What he's saying is when you're on a playoff run, when you're 15-2 and you're in the divisional round and you have home field advantage and you're the favorite to win the Super Bowl, that might not happen next year again. You right now that window is wide open today. When we were going into today, when we woke up,
there's a window.
Yes. Well, oh yeah. He's not saying there's not a window. He's saying the window resets every year. So when you get into the playoffs, hey, that window is now open. When you're the 1 seed, hey, that window is as open as it could be. If you're in the wild card game, the window is open, but it's a little more closed than other teams. And I think that's Tom Brady's point is, hey, yeah, obviously there's a window. When you go in and you're the best team and favorite going into the next year, your window's open, but it can close like that every year.
I think it's easy for I'm talking to Tom. So this ain't to Boone. This ain't to Boone.
Talk to Tom.
I think he's a little spoiled. I think because Tom is not.
Man.
Hear me here. Yeah, because Tom is the GOAT. He's the absolute GOAT. And when you're that good, it's hard to like imagine anyone's close to you that good. But he was also with Bill Belichick in the best situation. Like they together were unstoppable. I think he has a skewed mind kind of with that. Like I think he only knows kind of his experience.
It does make sense,
and it
to
is
a
like
point, though.
I get it.
Like
I
to
do.
a point where it's like, hey, every year, like yes, your window's going to be open. Like if you do look at it year by year,
like
there's going to be you're going to look at the favorites to win the Super Bowl, right? The teams at the top, their window's wide open. Like the 49ers, 49ers going into this year.
Honestly,
to start the year, the 49ers window was open going into this year. Halfway through the year,
would you say next year it's open again?
Yes,
I disagree.
But
that's why I disagree. I think it's closed.
If they get healthy, depending on what happens,
they got to pay Brock. Like they got a lot of things coming
year
their
to
way.
year. Again, if you think it's closed, but that's a new year. But going into this year, but like halfway through this year, the window's here, and then boom, once they get the playoffs, windows. So
you
closed.
Agree with him, or you agree with kind of?
I kind of both. Like I just think I think the window. I think every year the window starts open. I think with his point, it just closes quick.
Let's read some comments, Boone, if you want. I want to see if people are venting here. So let's pull up, guys. Grab whatever comment.
I don't know how to say that.
What that is?
But he said Super Bowl logo is red and green. Most likely means Chiefs versus Eagles. Chiefs 3-peat because it's the celebration.
This logo shit is
celebrities
crazy.
bandwagon team.
The logo stuff is crazy.
Yeah, that is. It's been happening for years too. Been happening for years.
What do we got? I know people are venting in there.
And by the way, and I'm probably gonna speak for the boys here. I know we're like, hey, we usually live stream Lions. I'm off on this. We're probably gonna live stream playoffs.
Yeah, why not?
I'll speak for the boys here.
Absolutely.
We'll probably next week in NFC and AFC championship game. We'll probably live stream that.
The Super Bowl.
We'll be live streaming that. We won't live stream tomorrow. I will say that. At least I won't.
What comment did you have up there? I think Klotz, you clicked on something.
It was more so just kind of speaking on like Goff.
Grab
what about this one?
Grab a comment.
I don't know if I want to do this. Bull's turn.
Vent session.
You guys can read this one.
Bull's turn. Hooker, TA, Rake, Martin, Manu, shit picks.
This draft, besides Mahogany, is looking rough.
Okay, but I'm going to put you on the spot, Klotzy.
Okay.
And it's okay. You're my guy.
I think I have an idea to counter this for you.
And this is what. And let's have a conversation. I'm not even going to come. I'm not even going to come at you. No. I'm not even going to come at you because I actually want to see where your head's at. I think this is where I'm at. Tell me how far I'm off from you. And you too, Boone. I'll just keep it a buck. Okay. Terion Arnold had in totality, not a good rookie season. Would anyone disagree with that?
No.
If you do, that's fine. That's where I'm at. I mean, that's a different word. We'll go with that
I'll
word.
say disappointing.
It was disappointing. I think that's a good one. But compared to what, like a guy that was picked, what was Quinyon Mitchell picked?
I believe right before.
So they're not he's not like a top 5 pick compared to him. They're both in the same kind of category.
And I get what you're saying because
very different players.
Terion, and I'm not even going to use like the whole pass rush thing, but I think there's guys who are just ready to go right away, like Quinyon Mitchell. But I also think you're still seeing that Terion Arnold was recruited and played safety at Alabama, moved to corner. So he's going to take a little bit longer to kind of develop, and you expect it to be longer for first-year corners anyways. But that being said, it was still a disappointment.
Does it mean he won't be good moving forward? Let's talk this year.
This is like the type of season that I think if you want to get like the best out of Terion Arnold, like this is the season he needed to have. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like a learning season.
Like you like
development learning.
He needs to go through like a because I mean, you look at like the good corners in the NFL, a lot of them don't just spark on the NFL scene like the Sauce Gardners do. If you're going like top 5, top 10, those guys can't.
Like Stingley he's a way better corner than he was.
Yeah, and he was even like top 12 and his thing was injuries. Like Terion, he was in position all year. That's the thing where it's like you watch Jeff Okudah, he was getting cooked.
Fair.
Terion was at least in the guy's hip. He was in position. He just didn't finish the play. And there's no excuse for him to be because the whole season it seemed like he was just like that far off. Yeah. But even like in this game, you saw him make a tackle on 3rd down to stop Zach Ertz. And that was after he missed a tackle. So he's giving you little glimpses. Now, the thing that does suck, no interceptions the whole year. And this was its past secondary that was getting bombed on because they were very good in the run defense. So to say that Terion Arnold wasn't disappointment, I think we're just being a little ignorant at that point. Like he was, and it's okay to say that because it's not writing the guy off. Like if you look at Brad Holmes and Alabama draft picks, they usually hit Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams.
Right.
So the most difficult position to play outside of quarterback physically, without a doubt, is corner.
I'm with you, Klotz. I think we're in the same boat. I don't think any of us would say, no one's going to say, at least from us, he's a bust start. You can't declare him a bust right now. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
Got to give him more time. There's things I like and things I've seen. And I think he can become a good corner in this league. I do. But we have to put that aside and objectively say this year was a overall. There's been moments where you're like, man, look at him make a play. He has, but it was disappointing. Boone put it best. He was disappointing this year.
And I'll say
that's
this
a good way
too,
to put it.
And whoever that was talking about the draft class, I think there's a difference between this.
They'll get better though.
This is the thing with this draft class. And like the year before, I will say I think as Lions fans we were spoiled with Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam LaPorta. Like that draft class, unbelievable. One of the greatest. I think when all said and done, that was one of the greatest draft classes of all time. First, like a 2-round stretch. But I don't know where you guys are at with this. It felt like Brad Holmes changed strategy a little bit this year in the draft, where he drafted for long-term development, like Giovanni Manu, Sione Vaki, obviously Chris Mahogany, like knowing that, hey, Mahogany might not play, but he ended up being a good backup. And like Ennis Rakestraw, like you drafted 4 guys that you're like, hey, these guys can turn into good NFL players and they're going to be good. But there is that sense, at least to me, like you see the Eagles draft and you see some of these other teams draft that are up there. You know who? The Chiefs draft, where they draft guys that they're like, hey,
look
they
at
can play
Xavier
right away.
Worthy right now.
Yeah,
George Karlaftis
they
played
can play
right now
instantly. And Brad this year took the approach of, hey, we feel like we're comfortable enough to start drafting for development. It's like, no, like you still had pieces to fill depth-wise on this football team, especially defensively, and you kind of didn't go that route. And I think this year, to your point and your point, Jeff, you guys both mentioned it at some point today, you have to go draft for guys this year that you know can come in and make an impact. Yeah. You have to make trades up. You can't just sit in the 6th round and hope for a guy. You have to make moves, and you have to go get guys to help your team now.
So hold on, before we move off, think about even last year's draft, the year before that, Hendon Hooker, Roderick Martin.
Yeah, those 2 guys are useless.
And let's think about Hendon Hooker. You bring in Teddy Bridgewater? Why? If you haven't, so honestly, when is Hendon Hooker going to see the field?
It's a waste of a pick.
You're still bringing in him. You draft Mekhi Wingo this year, who's actually like he was pretty solid. He's going to get the depth spot over Brockton Markman. Both of those guys, 3rd-round picks. Do you think if Brad Holmes used one of those 3rd-round picks on a defensive end, on a corner last year instead of doubling up on corner this year? Because it's like you're panicking. You're taking 2 corners, you're panicking. Yep. Like it's you got Carlton Davis, you got Terion Arnold, you got Ennis Rakestraw. It's a panic thing. It's one of those things where it's the philosophy that we were kind of talking with Ben Johnson, where it's like he's trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Brad, you are so fucking good. But like Amon-Ra St. Brown, what did he do right away? He played. Jahmyr Gibbs played. Penei Sewell played. Sam LaPorta played. And I understand not like those guys were mostly outside Amon-Ra. There, Kirby played right away. But like the guys that he drafts to play right away are good.
Can you be devil's advocate though?
Okay.
I think it was the circumstances of that team though.
As far as what?
To. Like Broderick getting drafted to this team, it's like he ain't playing over DJ Reader. You know what I'm saying? But he never even was like praised to the point. Like but I get what you're saying. But like Amon-Ra, they drafted him, they had no wide receivers. Like he had to play.
But there was there was a clear need at that defensive end spot this year and last year. You filled it in with Marcus Davenport, who wasn't healthy.
No,
he got
agree
hurt
with that.
week 2. Like
I'm saying,
there's the glaring needs that he's like, we'll patch that. But we're going to try to go like, it's like you Moneyball it, like the movie Moneyball, the baseball movie. We have a clear need here. We're not going to do that. We're going to try to do everything to overcome that. We'll address that later. They did it at corner, and they did it at defensive end. And it's just one of those things where it's like,
Hey, Caleb, can you do me a favor, close the poll? And also tell me the results of that poll. I put a poll, who won the argument, Booner or Lucas? I'm stirring the pot. What's the results on that?
The GG vote. I give it all my good. Yeah,
Hey, and also, thanks, Caleb. I appreciate that. Can you, Klotzy or Booner, look at the stars, the starred ones, and check the donation. If we have donations or members,
gotcha,
or just we'll get
go
them.
through it. So we'll just start, even if we went through them already.
What do we?
Door Gunner. My Commanders put belt to ass. Fraud NFC North.
Respect.
Hey,
Respect. He did.
I honestly,
that ass, man.
I'm happy it's the Commanders and not the Eagles or the Rams.
That's fair.
Put it like that.
And Caleb, by the way, I text Caleb.
Caleb's at war with
I text Caleb. Caleb had the Eagles fans at him. I text Caleb instantly, and I said, "You need to go Rams money line tomorrow."
Caleb,
I want to say this.
You're taking down the Eagles tomorrow.
I want to say this.
Matthew Stafford.
it's a villain.
We've had conversations on the show where I have complimented the Eagles, saying they are a very good team, and part of me was afraid of them. Now we don't get the opportunity to go whoop their ass. I hate the Rams. I hate them.
We're in on them tomorrow.
We're in on the Rams tomorrow. I mean, it is all Rams tomorrow. All Rams. All Rams. And you know what? The tweet I made about Jalen Hurts? I'll stand on that. Because you know why? Is Jalen Hurts going to win you any football games? No, he's not.
Hey, air horn, hit it.
Somebody, I don't know.
No, it's all good. I love it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay, so little backstory here. This was December 12th, right? Jalen Hurts, I think, came off a bad game. He has multiple of those during the year. And I tweeted, I said, the reason I'm not, as a Detroit Lions fan, the reason I'm not worried about the Eagles is because of Jalen Hurts. Eagles Twitter found it, and they're having a field day with me, Boone. I mean, they're just tearing me to shreds.
All right,
we have the post. And you know what? You just use it as, and we got to keep going through these, by the way. Don't let us forget these.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to, you guys can do super chats, all of that. If you guys want to get to the top here, we'll read all of our super chats. So, we can get the, let's finish it out here. At Morris, I think the Lions were overconfident in this game. Totally agree.
I think us as a fan base, we got humbled, and I think the team got humbled as well.
Went into that game and you weren't ready. You thought you were going to win the game. It was going to be easy. It's an NFL playoff team. Music Studio, this loss has to change their approach in the upcoming draft. 100% agree. 100% agree. Let's see. Next one. Music Studio again. I'm so irritated right now. I don't even know how to process this. That entire team looked out of it. They looked amateurish.
Yeah, they did.
Dan Campbell looked something.
They looked flat all game.
Yeah,
they looked flat.
Really said Goff is a pocket passer. Quarterbacks must run today. Yeah,
and that's something I said earlier. It's like he's immobile. And that's a downside.
Shout out John here. John,
shout out John,
becoming a member here.
Shout out John.
All right, what's the tweet we have here?
Right, so, here's the tweet.
All right, we got the tweet. Caleb's tweet. Caleb Czarnik, as a Detroit Lions fan, I am not worried about the Eagles for one reason. And the man put Jalen.
Comments. 4 turnovers.
4 turnovers in the playoff game. As an Eagles fan, I will never update.
I have an update.
This aged poorly. Oh my gosh.
I mean, these are fine. They're funny.
Wait, can you go up to the top? How many impressions and how many comments does it have? 121 comments.
Brutal, dude.
Almost 100,000. 129 retweets. They're probably quote tweets. Go to quote tweets. Click on the retweet and go to view quotes. As an Eagles fan, I'm not worried about the Lions for one reason. Oh, dude.
Not good.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean,
oh, no.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a shit.
Tough. You know what? I thought I was going to get some backlash for some tweets today. I haven't. Caleb's got it all.
This is
Caleb looked at me after the game, too. I told him to mute. I said, Caleb, I thought this. I think I'm going to get killed after. And he goes, yeah, you might. And then it's just out of nowhere, this man gets it.
I'm just getting absolutely shredded.
Oh, man. The shred line.
I mean, I'm getting fucked.
Oh, man.
But I'll say this, Eagles fans, if there's any of you watching, Jalen Hurts isn't winning you any fucking games.
I love it.
It's all Saquon Barkley, and you know that. It's the offensive line, it's Saquon Barkley, and you know this. It's no secret. But this isn't Eagles talk. This is Lions talk.
Yeah.
Lions honestly,
talk.
Caleb, I don't give. Listen, you're I'm in the bunker with you. All right, we're at war together.
I mean, am I wrong about what I mean?
Okay, you know what I appreciate about you? You say what you think, and you know what? You stand on business, and for that, brother, you're a dog.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that.
Honestly, I respect the hell out of it. You're going to take the heat, but guess what?
It comes with the territory.
Get out the kitchen if you can't. You're staying in that kitchen.
It comes with the territory. And you know what? I'll say this. Let's say, it hurts me to say, makes me want to cry thinking about it. If we were going into the NFC Championship game and we were matched up with the Eagles, the talk would be Saquon Barkley for us. I mean, it's not Jalen Hurts. I'll say that, Eagles fans. Stop acting like this guy is the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, let's see. Okay.
But Jared Goff, really, man? Really? You had to do me like that?
Yeah, I
thought we actually had
shout out to Klotz and counted on the soundboard.
Did he just cricket me?
I mean, he's having fun. Look at it. I mean, this guy.
Get this guy off the soundboard.
Yeah, he's having too much
Klotz,
fun.
You
want
to come in for me for a little bit?
Come on. You can come out this way.
I need a break. We're probably going for a little while here, so.
All right, so
Klotz, I'm gonna.
Hey, by the way, I gotta say, Lions fans, it's Saturday night. You know what? You know what? Hold on.
Let's indulge.
You know what?
Let's
boys?
have a vent session.
This is you know what this is?
Hold on, you gotta get the sound. Yeah. Perfect. That was so satisfying.
I mean,
that was the best part of my day. Honestly,
I'll say this to
the most fulfilling part of my day.
To the Lions fans out there, this is a tough loss. We're gonna do
that.
We're gonna be at each other's throats. It's actually a Lions edition, limited edition, Grit City. This is gonna be tough. And you know what? JT says pour a little out for the season. Pour a little out for the 2024 season.
Whoa.
It's got to be sacrificed.
It's. No, don't do.
In the shot. You know what? In the bucket of sadness.
What is going on?
This right here, boys. That's for the year. That's for the year.
Job.
Okay.
I'll pick it up.
And this one, listen, in celebratory, I'm going to do this for a couple of reasons. Lions are going to be back next year.
They will.
They're going to be back. Dan Campbell, it's a tough loss.
Can you hand me my phone, please?
But you know what, boys?
Thanks.
I wouldn't want to cover this team with any other boys. Actually, men like yourselves. You guys are it's
22
a great
years
team.
young. About to be 23 next month.
We got Boone. King of the fucking Kool-Aid. We got Gentry. We got Caleb. We got Klotzy. And I'm in there too. And for the Lions, hey, it's a tough year. Cheers. Cheers, boys.
Cheers up, man.
Man.
Down the field and gang.
Cheers. Me and Caleb were pounding fucking fireball shooters earlier to stay warm.
You know what?
Yeah, boys. Hey, but we will say this, and we're going to keep the show rolling, but got a lot of people in here, so we are going to be going to the draft combine. We are going to be getting interviews during the draft combine.
Yes, we are.
We are going to be doing tons of coverage for this team and just the NFL in general in the offseason, so make sure you hit subscribe if you're not already. We're going to be doing tons of giveaways. You're seeing step one. This is our first year. So, like the Detroit Lions, like the Washington Commanders, we're going to continue to get better and better and better, give you better products. So make sure you hit subscribe button. We appreciate everybody who's in here showing support. Yeah. Love you guys. We would not be able to do this without you guys. It brings us all as friends together, and we can give you this product. So we appreciate everyone.
You know what? We might just pull an all-nighter, stay on stream. You know, hold on.
Maybe.
We just got another super chat. Could you click on it for me, Caleb? It's from John. Thanks, Boone. No, Boone's got it. We're good. All right.
Hey, Boone, got it?
John, $10.
John, you're the man. He says, you need this tonight, boys. If I could super chat some beers, I would.
You know who
John,
I could really
we
use
appreciate
right now?
the hell out of you, man. Seriously. Thank you.
You know who we should give just a late night text just to see if we could get him on by chance? The Doc. Text the Doc. I bet the Doc would be able to.
That's a great idea.
If we could get the Doc, the Don.
We do need a voice of reason. We do need a voice of reason for the boys and for the people.
And you know he's fired up. And
he's
probably had a couple drinks too.
He might still be at Ford Field. He's a dog.
If we could get him coming back. And guys,
give him a buzz. Give him a buzz, Boone. Call his ass.
Can I not scroll on this thing, Klotz? Oh, there we
Oh
go.
yeah, dude, it's been acting weird on me all day. It's been clicking random comments too. Yeah, it's click that, get you on the bottom.
I want to say, man, we're gonna try and get the doc on. That'll be fun. But to echo what you were saying earlier, man, this has been like, now that we got the vent out, we're gonna talk about it all week. We're gonna have so much time to talk about it, and that's gonna be a lot of the discussion this week. And then we'll get into the draft. And I believe, boys, and I'll say this unbiased, just factually, we have the best draft coverage in the entire city, I believe.
Yeah, because
our draft coverage is very thorough. We're going to be at the combine. We're going to be, that draft was here last year, but we're going to be covering it very thoroughly, like we do always. But I am blessed to have these boys here with me. This is, we got a hell of a team. You are a hell of a community. We appreciate you from all the super chats, the Crunch Time members, subscribers, the people who just like the stream. Appreciate the hell out of you. It wouldn't be possible to start what we started last year, to grow it to what we've grown it to, and to add people like Caleb, talented people.
Yeah.
Boys, I am fired up about the future.
Yeah.
Come on.
And you know what? I'm fired up because we have you, the community. So thank you. Very blessed, man. I seriously am. I love you, boys. This is fun.
For real.
It was a blast.
You know what I said? I said this, at the end of the watch party. I appreciate you boys a lot. Most fun year of my life. I've met so many people. And I mean, the Detroit sports community, it's like it's like nothing else. It's unbelievable. Came to a halting stop.
I don't know.
Boys, we might have breaking news.
Huh?
We have some important news, and you're going to find out in a little bit. So stick. You're not going to
want
want
to commercial break.
No, we're going
to. And we'll be back.
It's
like
all
a
right,
fucking
we are
extra
back from
points.
commercial. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We got huge. By the way, this is big news. We have a special guest joining, so stick around. Stick around for that.
Hey, and real quick, I know you guys touched on it, but kind of want to get an update as of today, right now. What time are we at? Because my computer time's out.
I don't even know.
We're at
We might
12:49
just not
a.m.
sleep
Eastern
tonight,
Standard
honestly.
Time. Where do
Did I
you
just click on
see
that one?
Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson coaching next year?
Hey, wait. I want to hold on.
Oh,
Let's answer that right after the break.
Yeah, right after the break. Boone currently has headphones on, screaming.
Boone's in his bag right now. Look
He's-
at him.
You know when people
He's
like
in his
have their
bag.
headphones on at the gym? He's screaming
Okay,
right now.
Boone's going to play Dan Campbell real quick. Boone, I want to read the super chat. Steven, thanks for the $5, my man. Seriously, appreciate it so much. His thoughts on an outside hire for next defensive coordinator. We'll answer this after this.
Yep.
We'll get to this question after that. Boone, go ahead and
After
play
the commercial break.
At the end of the day, after all this loss today, I still, I love the guys and I respect them and I appreciate. We fell short today. I still, I love the guys and I respect them and I appreciate everything they put into it. But it's not the time to talk about what a great year or how many went. It just, it's because at this moment, I don't think any of us feel that way. The whole point of doing what you do is to get to the show, man. That's why you play this game. And
Yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell, I will say this. Like, we can talk all about how they lost, and I hope you guys are kind of with us here. This loss for Dan is, like, I feel for him because take all, let's get to the X's and O's tomorrow or on Monday. I want him to win. I love Dan Campbell. He is such a great coach. Like, they had a bad day today.
I saw a post already.
But
I
man,
wasn't there.
he's such a good
When I
dude.
stepped
Go on,
off,
Boone.
I saw a post from I don't know who it was, but they were saying, is Dan Campbell like really the coach for Detroit? Is Dan Campbell the answer for Detroit? And it showed his 4 years, and it was like 3-13-1, 8-9, 12-5, 15-2. And you're gonna deny that guy that he's done his job in Detroit? I understand that they did not have a good game coaching wise, but name me a better time that the Detroit Lions have had over the last 3 seasons as far as an organization. They have not. They've flourished. They've turned themselves into a household brand in the NFL. They were a laughing stock. Like, they were truly the laughing stock. As Lions fans, now we laugh at Cleveland Browns fans. Now we laugh at Raiders fans.
Yep.
Now we laugh at Jaguars fans. Literally 3 years ago, we were those teams. So I think it's a time where it's like, okay, that's a tough pill to swallow, but genuinely, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing Dan Campbell can do about it. There's nothing Sheila Ford Hamp can do about it. But if you don't think that this Lions team is going to be back in this situation next year, I think you're crazy. The one thing stopping that to, I guess, that would prove Tom Brady's window theory correct is a Jared Goff injury. And that's the guy that people are going to be scrutinizing the most. Yes, it sucks that we can't have a mobile quarterback that can run and throw the ball 80 yards. There's 3 teams that can say that out of the whole entire NFL. Like even Joe Burrow fans, they can't say that. Joe Burrow has pocket mobility. Did we not see Jared Goff be mobile inside the pocket on that touchdown pass to Sam LaPorta? We did. So he's not the most mobile quarterback, but to act like this dude's a wash bum because he's a prototypical pro-style in-the-pocket quarterback in an era where you can't is just blasphemy, as Stephen A. Smith would say. What they need, and what Jeff was saying originally and why I faded away from it, don't know why, but you need a fucking defense. It's plain and simple.
Yep.
It's an offensive league, so you need a defensive side. But offense will win you games. Defense will win you championship. That's common sense has been the saying since the dawn of football. Like the dawn of football, even when it was being played back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, defense won championships. And if you had a good offense, that's great because you could balance it. But we were acting like this Lions team was some complimentary team that played the best complimentary football. But obviously, like we said all year, like if something bad's going to happen, it's going to show at the worst moment, and it did tonight.
Let me get a transition here. Booner's got a great tweet. We can get into this conversation, and he found a tweet. Amik Robertson quote tweeted Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney put on his Twitter, "Like I said, we are not the same." Put it on the screen. Is it on the screen, Boone? There you go. Xavier McKinney. And like I said, we are not the same. And Brian Branch, excuse me, not Amik. That's on me. Brian Branch quote tweeted and said, "What? Who?" He said, "Who?"
Yeah. And
I know the Packers aren't talking.
Yeah.
Hold on now. Let's keep it a stack. I know the Packers aren't talking. All right. I know the Packers aren't talking because what you got to look at yourselves here. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation. All right. Stay out. The Lions. Yeah, I get it. Everyone can jump on and laugh at them. I get it. But no way what the Packers just put out there.
And dude,
against the Eagles, I would just stay quiet. I would just stay quiet.
And I mean, dude, like we're talking about all this stuff about Goff, but like Goff has proved stuff in this NFL. Like the way Jordan Love has been playing as a young guy really hasn't proved much.
Jordan Love has a half a season proven. It's almost like all these quarterbacks like coming out party is against the Detroit Lions. You saw Jordan Love, and now you see like Jaden Daniels has been good, but this win. Because the Commanders aren't going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Look, again, like they're going to be a very good team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. This will be the win where everybody was put on to the Jaden Daniels scene in the NFL. Everybody in the NFL community was watching tonight's game. And I understand the wild card game, but when you have the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders, that's going to be the most viewed game outside of the Super Bowl probably. So
let me give a shout out to Matthew Rowley. Thank you for the $10. We appreciate it. If you guys donate, super chats will be read. So
they will. They will. Come on.
What's going on? What are you laughing at?
Let me read this one. The Lions and their fans deserve this. Years of being losers. You still are, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
And talk so much. Glad your team has never won anything and never will.
Wow.
Losers. Well, thank you for the $10, Matthew.
You know what I will say? Like, I'll just say this, Trust Circle. I appreciate anyone that's willing to donate and talk shit. That's a ballsy thing to do.
You know, we were humbled as Lions.
We got a special guest joining the program. Those who stuck with us, we appreciate you because our good friend, and this man, I got a lot of respect for because he shows up when his number's called. All right, we asked him. We said, Doc, we need you to speak to the people, speak to us. We're flying all over the place, and the Doc was there. Let's bring on the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, Doc, a.k.a. John Macaroon. Doc, how's it going?
What's up, Doc?
Man, fellas, look, I'm a little shell-shocked. I'm surprised the game went this way. Look, there was a chance the Lions were going to lose this game, but the manner in which they lost is heartbreaking. They didn't play their best ball, a lot of turnovers, and the Commanders really performed at a high level. So you sit here and you go, this was worst-case scenario. This was a situation in which this football team was expected to go to the Super Bowl, and I had the flights planned. I was ready to cover a Super Bowl team, but here's the thing. It's not an excuse, but once number 21 went down, Amik Robertson, that just had to be the balloon. That popped the balloon, and that was it. I mean, the Commanders the Lions did make a stop right after it happened, but the Commanders just really, pedal to the metal. They were able to shine and play their game, and Detroit never really got momentum to the point where you felt like it was going to be comfortable. It was a dogfight. And in the end, the Detroit Lions season comes to an end just like that. One and done for the Lions. And it just stinks because there's going to be a lot of question marks regarding how this football team is going to look. There's going to be a lot of changes. And unfortunately, Jared Goff, you got to point the finger at him a little bit as well. He did not play well. It was disappointing.
Doc, let me ask you this, because you were in the building, and again, a lot of fans are going to be emotional right now. And I said that I think it's different things, right? It's the defense. It was Goff, and the defense because of injuries. It was Goff. The coaching staff did things that were out of character. I want to ask you about Goff. People are starting. There's a crowd out there that say, this guy's not good enough. He can't win a Super Bowl. Goff stinks, all this and that. I tend to put more pressure. I think it's multiple things. But what do you say about people coming after Goff today, Doc? What's your thoughts on his play?
Yeah, it's fully warranted. I mean, he threw multiple picks. This was indicative of what Sean McVay saw to make the decision for him to trade Jared Goff. This was the reason. This was what bad Jared Goff looks like. Multiple turnovers, not being poised, not playing his best game. And you got to ask yourself, the Commanders built a football team with a rookie that was mobile and was able to win a football game on the road now twice. And you got to have serious conversations. Me, Christian, Vito, we're having those conversations. Look, you can win games with Jared Goff. That has always been the case. He's been in the Super Bowl before. But the conversation seriously now will be had amongst a lot of people. Can you win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? In a game like this was a Jared Goff game. You needed him to kind of elevate the football team. And unfortunately, he was part of the problem and not part of the solution. This was a bad game. This was a very much a game it's an outlier. He's had such a great season. It's the worst time to have this game. But unfortunately, you realize that, and credit to Dan Quinn. I think that he was overlooked in his defensive prowess. I think that they heard the press clippings about how bad their defense was, and they came out to prove they rattled Jared Goff. They pressured him. They sent individuals after him, and they made him struggle. And look, in the end, you could say that hit was cheap, but in the end, they went after the Lions quarterback, and it stinks because you don't want that talk to start to stir about Jared Goff. But this is pro football, and today, look, it'll change tomorrow, and we'll have more appreciation for the season Goff had. But right now, if the Lions said, we're looking to draft another young quarterback that's mobile and athletic and can look like Jaden Daniels, maybe it's not in this year's draft class, but the talk has to be had. Jared Goff is a traditional pocket passer. The league is shifting, and I think the conversation needs to be had. How far can you go with Jared Goff? And this game puts a lot of doubt in people's mind regarding his future.
But okay, Doc, I'm just going to kind of ask, why would you go to, they need to draft a mobile quarterback route versus they need to stop drafting the Giovanni Manus, the Hendon Hookers, and get defensive pieces that can play right now? Because look at how many injuries this defense had to take throughout the season. And they're drafting guys that will most likely not even see the field for this team, at least for meaningful snaps. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying about the mobile quarterback part, but you still need a defense, and I understand injuries will be part of that. But do you honestly think that Jared Goff is not the guy to win a Super Bowl with this team?
Okay. Now, Lucas, here's the thing. Okay. There are multiple draft picks, right? So we're talking high-end first, second-round pick. You look at that situation. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Part of the critique for Brad Holmes will be this year that there were some draft picks the last couple of years that were developmental players. And it's in a situation in which it's a win-now mode for this football team. You could say those picks could end up being costly for the Detroit Lions. But here's the reason why you say drafting a quarterback, all right? Mm-hmm. You now have invested heavily. You made the decision on Goff. You realize you're paying him a boatload of money. Now, you still have cap flexibility to put together a good roster. But the reason why you say get an athletic quarterback is look what happens. Jaden Daniels was pressured by the Detroit Lions, but he was able to evade some pressure. He was able to extend the chains, move the football when needed. And you recognize that, in this day and age, defensive linemen are only getting bigger, faster, stronger. And it's a position, the quarterback position is the most important position. So you ask me right now, can you win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? Yes, I think you could. But at the same token, there may be a lot of bumps in the road along the way. This is what's scary now is in playoff games against good opponents, you now have to worry every appearance. Will bad Jared Goff show up?
Yeah.
Will the Goff that drops the football on the turf, the Goff that throws interceptions, that's the one you got to worry about showing up at the worst possible time. This was the worst time to have this performance for Jared Goff. The single worst time to play like that was right now.
Yeah, Doc, I got to ask you about Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Obviously, those are the two hottest names in the head coaching carousel. At least for Aaron Glenn, he didn't look like he had the guys ready today. Obviously, injuries played a factor. Do you think this game affects, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson maybe leaving? Maybe they'll feel like they have unfinished business, or do you think they feel like they've proved enough in the NFL and other teams think they've proved enough in the NFL where they're going to go get a job pretty easily?
Listen, bottom line, money talks. If an NFL team comes with a 6-year, $90 million offer, a lot of money guaranteed, they're both gone. I think Aaron Glenn is a little bit more ready to handle the reins of an NFL team than Ben Johnson at this point, in terms of just totality, from the fact that he was a scout to his ability to relate to players to the total buy-in that he could draw being a former player. I just would give Aaron Glenn a little bit slightly ahead. Ben Johnson had a bad performance, guys, today. I mean, what on earth are you doing calling a trick play with Jameson Williams running the football, tossing the football? You had momentum. You were driving the football. And I just think that he got a little bit too overconfident in a situation which you really didn't need a trick play. It's one of those deals where trick plays can be utilized in the regular season, but you're taking the ultimate gamble in the postseason. You were driving. I mean, listen, guys, football is not rocket science. I mean, I tweeted it at Detroit Podcast. When you were down, you had 3 players you needed to get the ball in their hands. Your skill players, 26, 14, and 9. You don't need 9 throwing the football. You pay 16 to do that. So, in my opinion, yeah, you probably will say he got a look. They ran it in practice. But I just think that in the end, when you throw the dice and you gamble to that degree, there's going to be times you come up snake eyes. And I think that was the time you did not need to do that. Ben Johnson, over-aggressive at the worst possible time. Bad play call, and it cost this football team. You could have just continued to pound the rock with 26, find 14, find your tight end. A trick play there that ends up in an interception. Terrible situation all the way around.
Yeah, Doc. Hey, it's Booner here. Good to see you, Doc, and hear from you. I know it's a tough night.
It's like
I'm off
Jamie
camera
right now. It's like
Jamie. I'm off camera.
Doc, it's Jamie.
I'm TDing the show here. I want to ask you this, Doc, and it's a follow-up off the Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn thing. One thing that, and I kind of had a little bit of a rant tonight after the loss here, Doc, and something that frustrated me is you had the week off, and you have potentially the head coach of the year in the NFL. You have what most consider the best offensive coordinator of the NFL, and you have Aaron Glenn, who's going to be a head coach next year. It felt like, Doc, all 3 of those situations, Dan Campbell got out-coached, Aaron Glenn got out-coached, and Ben Johnson all got out-coached. What are your thoughts on that? Am I off on that feeling? Because it felt like all 3 of those guys with the whole week off, maybe it was a distraction with the interviews and that. It felt like every single one of them got out coached. And I think that was the most disappointing part about tonight was you were supposed to have 3 of the best coaches in the NFL. Every single one of them got out coached by that Commanders staff. Am I in the right spot with that, or am I kind of going crazy? Because that's what it felt like tonight.
Yeah, look, seeing it from my vantage point, remember I'm higher up. So here's how I looked at it. I thought the Commanders basically played cleaner football. Football is a game in which opportunities can strike at the right time. When Jared Goff turned over the football, that's inopportune. When you throw interceptions, you throw a pick 6, that's just giving away points. So, I know people will look to coaching, but I look at it like, yes, the Commanders coaches had a game plan in place to allow his team to execute at a level that was mistake-free, that allowed his football team to play at a level that was winning football. And when you look at it deeper, we'll all have time to look at the game from a different vantage point. But again, I think the balloon popped. And look, I do think that the Commanders gained confidence from one of the Lions' best cornerbacks going out, a physical, tough, gritty guy. Jaden Daniels. Here's the part that really stunk. One quarterback hit in the first half. He wasn't pressured. He wasn't brought down. The key goal for the Lions was disrupt Jaden Daniels. He was comfortable. He looked like he had the opportunities to find his receivers, and their plays. In the end, their big time players made plays. Brown and McLaurin made plays. Now you could say, Dan Campbell didn't have his team fully ready. The bye week had an impact, but to the degree that I could say right now that he was out coached, I just think that the Commanders were healthier, hungrier, and they played cleaner football. And when you do that, it allows you to win on the road in a tough situation. And credit to Dan Quinn. I mean, my goodness, you heard, 95% of experts were picking against you. 10-point, disrespectful probably from everybody. But I thought if the Lions played cleaner, you saw they were able to move the football. If they played a cleaner brand of football, they could have won this game.
Doc, can I ask you? I gotta ask because we love you, and I know you. You'll stay as long as we need you to. But you got to get out of here soon. I feel bad. What's your time limit looking like?
What's my time limit?
It's time to head out.
I'm gonna record until someone throws me out.
You're the hardest fucking worker. This guy's the hardest fucking worker in the city, man.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna.
Hey, Doc. Doc,
I'll
real
say,
quick.
after we talk, I'm gonna record another 2-minute video, and then I'm heading home too. But at the same time, I'll stay as long as you want because you guys are helping me out too. Because I'm bummed out. I wanted to go to the Super Bowl. I wanted to cover a Super Bowl team.
Yeah,
and unfortunately too, just a little self-reflection. Just this year for me was about building trust with an audience, building trust with you guys to be able to come on here. I had the news that, about Amik Robertson, cultivated with the relationship, that I built. And I felt like I became a good reporter. Someone, I always knew people could trust me. And I knew that if you came to Lions on SI, you would be part of a Lions community and learn information. But I always wondered, would people trust a podcaster? But I knew I set the goal for myself to be as good a reporter as possible, to bring the fans that trust me to come and do the job. And I finished the year, unfortunately, ending the year like this, but got the news that Amik Robertson's going to have surgery. And that's so tough for him. He was ready, I think, to play a big game this year, but broken arm, second or third defensive play of the game. And it just was the dam broke. That's too many injuries. So listen, you guys, like I said, I've always told you guys, they're going to have to throw me out in any situation. I love talking to you guys.
Well, Doc, I'll ask you, and you know what, by the way, this is what we love the Doc, and the people don't know. We obviously talk off air as well. Doc's one of the hardest workers, joins us when we ask him. He is the fucking man. But Doc, let me ask you this while you're there, before they kick you out. We talked about the off-season plan for the Lions. They have guys they have to re-sign, and Tom Brady was asked about the window, and he said, well, every team with windows specifically, every year's a new year. But when you look at the off-season for the Lions, guys they have to bring back, what do you make of it, Doc? Like, where do the Lions go from here? You have Kirby Joseph that needs a deal. You're going to have Brian Branch coming up, Sam LaPorta eventually, Hutch. Like, in your mind, I know it's fresh off a loss, but where do the Lions go from here in terms of contract extensions and trying to bring guys back?
Listen, my confidence is high, this football team. I mean, these are back-to-back stinging end-of-year situations. Look, man, Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, LaPorta, all going to get better. You're going to have a hungry Aiden Hutchinson. I think Brad Holmes is going to pair Hutchinson with a bulldog on the opposite side. You just got to continue to grow and develop. This window's open. You can win. Now, the question mark is going to be the coaches, the assistants, who's going to end up leaving. I do think you got to start taking hard looks at your offensive line. Taylor Decker, older. Graham Glasgow, older. Made a key mistake in this game. And so I do think that, look, I trust Brad Holmes. 15 wins it doesn't happen by accident. But now the question mark is going to be, and I don't want to bring this up and bring everybody down, but I had this thought, because I think about everything. What if Dan Campbell is Mike Tomlin? What if he just gets to the postseason every year? Could we handle that year after year after year?
Doc.
Because listen, you have to entertain it at this point in time. You just got out-coached by an experienced coach here. And you look at it and you say, for the whole organization, Jared Goff's got to get better. The young players got to develop, but also too, Dan Campbell has to get better because it's one thing to win in the regular season. Goff did it. We've seen it before. It's a whole other thing to grind. And remember, the head man himself said it. It may end up being a situation in which it's prophetic. He said, this is, that's why he was so devastated after the 49ers loss. He said, this might be the only time it happens. That's how hard it is to stay healthy and get through the grind of a season. But you ask me, is the window open? The window's open. But, I was thinking at first maybe 2-3 Super Bowls with this group. Listen, we'll be happy with just one before I die. But Dan Campbell's got to get better. Everybody's got to get better to get over the hump, because it's a massive climb to get over the hump to win a Super Bowl. Guys, massive. 15-2, number 1 seed with the Washington team that had a bad defense. It's only going to get harder. It's only going to get harder from here. But the Lions have the tools to meet that challenge. It's just going to be overwhelmingly difficult. But we can't assume. You can't assume anything anymore, and it's a tough situation.
Doc, and because you're in Ford Field, I think this is more valuable of a question to ask you than anybody that was watching the game at home, just because you could really get a feel for the game more so than any of us. What is the play, in your opinion? I know you brought up Amik getting hurt, but the actual play that really broke the camel's back, where you're like, okay, the Lions, they're the number 1 seed. This is their Super Bowl year. It's done. What do you think that play, that moment was, outside of Amik being hurt?
Yeah, well, it's
on the field,
all the Goff turnovers, because right away the thought to me goes to say, oh no, this is a bad Goff game. So when he drops the football, he gets crunched there. You're like, my goodness, yeah, that injury stung to Amik Robertson, but when Goff had those 2 turnovers, and you realize, man, this is not a good sign. I just thought that Goff not having a good game started to put a lot of doubt in what was going on. And then, guys, too many chunk plays. De'Ami Brown and Terry McLaurin were able to do some things. And, I don't know. I'll make it personal. I'm a State guy. And I'm also a Lions fan. So you guys all know the heartbreak, the frustration that it causes me to be a Spartan fan, and knowing that Mike Sandristrel came in and did it twice. Now, ruining my Spartan season, then being the catalyst for the Michigan Wolverines to win a national title. He was a baller.
Go Blue, Doc.
And then he ends up with the Commanders and makes a ton of plays. You get the F out of here, man. Are you serious? That's just like a kick in the nuts for a guy like me. Kick in the nuts. It's a swift kick in the nuts with no padding.
It's a kick in the nuts with no padding. I mean, what?
Hey, go Blue. Go Blue.
Shut up, this guy.
Doc, it's Booner again. I have a 2-parter here. First one, I want to ask you, heading in, and obviously I've gotten a lot of flack today because I had the whole Booner path. I'm sure you've known about that for the last year
positivity,
or 2.
Doc.
And the Booner path obviously cut short this year, which, you know what? Brutal, I'll just to say the least. I want to ask you, going into next year, obviously you get everyone healthy back. You're going to make moves free agents wise. You're going to have to go resign guys. You're going to have to bring guys back. You have to make some moves in the draft. I want to ask you your expectations. Obviously, it's probably, I'm guessing, Super Bowl or bust again. Do you think that like next year, like with you saw like the injuries this year, that next year it's even on a higher pedestal? It's like, hey, you have to win a Super Bowl, and it's that big. And number 2, can I just ask one more question? Are we able to get a one last view of the field before the end of the season? Thank you, Doc. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'll try real fast. What do you want to do? Like a walk and talk here? Like, here we go, like this?
Whoa.
Look at the Doc.
Listen, there's people watching me here. Like, you think I'm going to run down the field? I'm going to stand right here, man.
Like one last run
right here.
Run a route out there or something,
Yeah,
Doc.
right. Look, man, every year, the way to put it into words is I'm a starving Lions fan. You know what I mean? From that perspective was like each opportunity opens the door. It's like, giving water to someone in the desert. And this year, 15-2, this was a Super Bowl year. But, I think the sting comes out of it knowing that, I mean, if the Lions won this game, Amik Robertson was going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, how are you going to go? You had one cornerback really logistically on this roster that was starting NFL caliber. So, in the end, weeks, I think, will help people to kind of calm down after this loss. But, yeah, you got to figure out, first and foremost, what the heck happened with all these injuries. Look at it from the medical training personnel staff to make sure that it works out again. But, guys, I don't think that, again, I think the basement's going to be Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Like, you're going to get to the postseason every year. You're going to win 9-10 games. But here's the caveat this next year. The challenge is greater, man. That road schedule is brutal. Like, the home schedule should give you opportunities to win a lot of games, but you're going to play Joe Burrow. You're going to play Lamar. You're going to go out there and play a bunch of teams on the road next year. So it might not be a 15-win year. It may not be a number 1 seed. It may not be a division championship. But I would start right now, right away, just knowing this roster, 10-7, with an opportunity for a lot of success. So every year with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, I think they're going to put together a winning roster and an opportunity to play well. It's just going to be, can they take the next step to go from just in the postseason, and what's the patience level going to be if they don't deliver soon? But the window's open. I think it's open for the next couple of years. You got a lot of these guys in their prime. They're all going to get better. Panay will get better. Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and you're going to add talent with draft picks. You hopefully can cash in with Martin and Manu and some of these guys contributing. I do think that, it's going to put a premium on bringing back maybe Carlton Davis, who's familiar. But it's all going to be predicated on, first and foremost, the first decision is going to be what happens with Ben and Aaron. That'll dictate a lot of things. But, guys, the Super Bowl window's open. There's chances. The question mark is going to be, do we ever get to taste the ultimate prize? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Doc, we appreciate your commitment. You're the hardest working dude I've ever met.
Doc.
And no, honestly, I don't think this man gets enough appreciation, so I'll fucking say it. All right, Doc, you're one of the best in the business. All right, we appreciate you. It's 1:18 a.m. You're still at Ford Field. People don't think about that stuff because you're not. You're gonna record and make videos. We appreciate the hell out of you. We'll see you Wednesday. We love you. And we're going to talk. We're going to have a lot of conversations. Yeah. Sometimes uncomfortable with the Doc. We're going to have some real conversations this whole entire year up until the Lions play.
Doc, we might need you for a little bit extended segment this Wednesday.
I feel like we
need you, Doc. It's both going to be like informative. You're going to be down in Allen Park. You're going to be around these guys, but more so like we need to get some things straightened out.
And can people put some respect on this fucking guy's name? I'm sorry. Doc. Go ahead.
Listen. Thank you. I appreciate it. But this isn't work, guys. I love this. I'm a competitive guy. I got to compete with established journalists. I got to break news. I got to do the things that I wanted to do. I'm in a great mix with. It's not just me. This Detroit media is crazy good, and that's what drives me so hard. Is that these guys are young and hungry and have all the training. I was just a fan that wanted to compete and say, yeah, I can break news. I can do everything everybody else does.
Right.
And do it at the level that they do it at. And I did that. And I'm only going to get better. It's going to get better on our end too at Lions on SI. But yeah, this isn't work. And you guys extend me a chance to talk to your audience and engage in the chat. So listen, anytime you want me, just tell me the time for Wednesday. If you want me for the whole 2 hours, I'm there, hour and a half. Listen, it's not work. It's energizing to me. And here's the thing. I'll break news to you guys. Damn it. I was hoping that, there's always going to be locker room clean out. Break news. I was hoping it was going to be Monday. It's effing tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I got to go back tomorrow. So that means really, guys, we have articles like basically lined up until noon from 6 a.m. That means there's more. I got to be talking to the Lions guys tomorrow and Dan Campbell tomorrow. Like I was like,
they're not going to want to talk. I feel like that. If I'm Dan Campbell, the last thing I want to do is talk.
And the last thing I want to do is drive out there. I want to watch Lamar. I want to watch Lamar and Josh. I was like, do it Monday. My God, Sunday. They want to get out, and it's over. It's over. They want us tomorrow. I was like, but in the end, I'm fueled by this. I'm competitive. And just like Amik Robertson said to me on the podcast, when they said, John Macaroon, you get a website, I knew it was going to blow up. I knew that people would come to me. Why? Because I'm real. I'm honest.
Yeah.
I tell it like it is. And
come on, Doc.
In the end, you guys give me a platform. Your guys' audience is great. Your chat is great. And I can see your guys' hustle as well. You guys are on the air at 1:18. I'm done. I'm going to push buttons and talk and talk here. You guys are the ones that are setting the tone for the future. And I'm honored that you give me time, that you look to me. So you guys keep crushing it. And like I always told you guys, keep hitting record, keep doing the reaction stuff that you're doing. You're making waves. And I expect 20,000 subscribers by the time the OTAs start next year. Let's go. Let's go, boys. Let's go,
Doc. Let's go, Doc.
And we wouldn't get there. We wouldn't even be close without you, Doc. We love the hell out of you.
You guys.
Keep up the great work. By the way, everyone, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, everyone that's watching, we got 500 people in here. Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated, our good friend Doc. We'll see him this Wednesday. Doc, John Macaroon, we appreciate the hell out of you. We love you. Drive safe because Lions fans need you.
Jeff, he's gone. He's gone. He's not there.
I mean, he's gone like the wind.
He just pops out.
He's the man.
I will say, fellas, and for all the people that are still here, we love you. Thank you, because it's been a long, disappointing night.
Hold on. Boone
but
got
we
a
have
Dan
more
Campbell.
to get to. We're not.
We'll be back after
No.
this.
Before we get to the Dan Campbell video, I do want to. We have super chats. Okay, go ahead, Boone. I want to make sure we get to these because people are donating and we appreciate it. And we told you we're going to read every single super chat. So throw it up, Boone. What do we got? Can you read it for me, Caleb?
This one already happened. We already read this one from Matthew.
Anything new?
We got a $1 donation from.
This one says, "Fire
Shout out.
Dan Campbell."
What?
Yeah, no, yeah. Hey, so this one, Fire Dan Campbell, pop him up, Boone. Yep, keep popping. We got a $1 donation. No comment said. We appreciate your dollar. What was the name, Boone? Yep, that one.
Secco Funk.
Secco Funk. Knock. Who is Detroit playing next week? I told you. Nobody was checking for the Lions.
Okay.
Fuck out of here.
Guys, and I'm just being real. If you played sports, you know
oh
this
no,
comes
this
with the
is from
territory.
Secco Funk. They
Go
donated again. Oh no, ... Next year again, losers. It's fair.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say?
And
Go
Secco
on.
Funk with another $2.
Get your licks in.
Fire Dan Campbell. HTT. I think that's the Commanders thing. Hail the something. Either way, move on.
Yep. What do we
Hail
got?
to the Commanders. All right, next up, Boone. All right. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate
All right.
that.
So,
Thank you,
and by the way,
appreciate it.
I see. You know what? I'm going to say it because fuck it. All right. I know. I've seen this. I've seen this too. Okay. I know there's going to be a lot of deniability in this city. All right. There's probably
Great word,
other
deniability.
There's
That's 3 days in a row.
There's
You've used a
probably
great word.
there's probably other outlets that are probably trying to find excuses, but there isn't any. The Lions shit the bed. That's actually the truth. And offensively, defensively, from a coaching staff perspective, they shit the bed. So the people that choose to watch us for our opinions, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And there are people in this city that I respect for their opinions, but the reality is everyone should be frustrated. I said earlier, there's multiple angles to this thing. It's very complex. There's a defensive angle. There's a quarterback angle. There's a coaching staff angle that seemed to not be prepared today. I will accept all of those. And we're going to dive into them all this week. I believe we have the best coverage team in the city in terms of opinions. And I think this week we're going to dive into some very uncomfortable conversations. And I can't, I try to find a way to be excited about it because the reality is we lost. So then we're covering football for or at least the Lions in a playoff run.
This shit's so
Yeah,
nauseating.
I know
to
it
watch. They're
stinks,
playing
but you know what, guys?
tough.
I think this is the time where Lions fans and Lions media need to kind of come together, and we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations because as much as we love entertaining you guys throughout the season, it's the same when the season ends.
Yeah.
We have to be real. We have to let people know what the real shit is, and sometimes that's going to be uncomfortable. So John comes on, and that's why I've always respected the doc because the doc keeps it a stack always. That's why I love him, dude. He comes on,
keeps it a stack.
and the doc gets a lot of shit for some of the things he says, but he was on point today. So that was great. And honestly, for all the people that donated, even if you were talking trash,
you're welcome.
Appreciate it. Because honestly, this is what happens with the territory. If you lose in this type of fashion, you're going to get shit for it, and that's what happens. So,
and we do
I accept it.
We do have a video here of Dan Campbell.
Let's get to it.
Boone, you got it? Yeah, it's Dan Campbell
All
basically
right,
saying
let's play the
it's
Dan Campbell
his fault.
And then I'll read the super
Taking
chats.
accountability.
But let's hear Dan. This is Dan Campbell.
It's like the players, you know.
Let's hear Dan. This is Dan Campbell.
What they put into it. A lot of people don't know, you know, what they go through. You have to get up. Bodies beat to shit and, you know, mentally stay locked in and do those things. So, long season. It's my fault. It's my fault.
Yeah. And Dan, this is the thing I said earlier. Like it's a tough loss, no matter how you shape it or say it. But the thing I feel the most bad for, like Lions fans are number one, but Dan Campbell's number two. I feel so bad. Like it honestly, like it sucks. But think of it from Dan Campbell's perspective. He's put everything, blood, sweat, and tears into this franchise. led them to franchise best, I guess, accomplishments and playoff success until today. So, like, as much as it sucks and fans are going to be upset, just know there's someone more crushed than you, and that's Dan Campbell right now. He is devastated. And I think this is the type of team with their DNA, fellas, that just rally behind this shit. You know what I'm saying? This is the stuff that, like, the team that was overlooked and continues to use examples to keep, like, overcoming people that, you know, don't have faith in them or overlook them. They were the team that was hunted this year, and I think this loss will motivate them next year into being like, you know what? The league last year, how it ended, we're going to get our vengeance back this year, and we're going to whoop some ass. Yeah. And Hutch is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. There's going to be some big things next year. And, man, I just feel you guys can speak on it, but I feel terrible for Dan.
Yeah, I mean,
it sucks.
Jared Goff talked about it a little bit. I believe it was after the Bills loss. He basically just said everything Dan Campbell says is true. There's no fluff. Everything he says, he means. So when he comes out and says, I really think it was, you know, I take accountability for the loss, he really does. He truly does. What he says, he means. And like Jeff said, like, there is no person on planet Earth that is more crushed than Dan Campbell right now. And look, am I going to sit here and say I feel bad for him? I don't know. Because, I mean, you got out coached today, but again, you're right, Boone. It's Dan Campbell.
I know it's hard not to, but
it's Dan Campbell. But Boone's right. He said you're not here without him. But again, when we're just looking at today and the present,
my bad, Caleb.
At home as the 1 seed, 10-point favorite, off a bye, you got out coached, and that's kind of the way it is. But again, we will be in this position again. Not losing, but in the playoffs again, as the 1 seed, as the Super Bowl favorite again, because of a guy like Dan Campbell. Yeah. So, I mean,
that hot.
Yeah. I see Teddy too. He's an Eagles fan in the chat. Lions were decimated on injuries on the defense side of the ball, and I'm not even a Lions fan. Injury bug kills Lions.
Yeah.
And by the way, first, Teddy, appreciate you for watching. You have no obligation to, considering we're a Lions channel. So I appreciate the comment. But injuries are something in the NFL, Klotzy, and you've been watching it ever since you were a freaking baby. You know how this works, dude. Like, injuries are something you can't predict, but when they happen, it's like an injury. That's why they say the injury bug, because they spread. I mean, guys are going down that you don't expect. You had Aiden, Aleem, Carlton. These are key players. I mean, Carlton's a top 15 corner. Aleem's a top, I mean, I would say 10. I'll take it. Top 10 defensive tackle. Aiden's was the best defensive end this year. So at some point, and I'm not going to take that angle this week. I already let you guys know. I think it would be ridiculous if I sat here all week and was like, oh, I told you so. It's not about that, man. I tried to have conversations with you fellas, and we had arguments about it, but it's not even about that. The Lions defense, the injuries at some point, boys, and you know this, Caleb, because you talked about it on the watch party at the end. Like, at some point, they stack up to a point where even if AG was on point, they just can't overcome. Like, their run defense that run defense is nothing like we've seen when they were at their best. That's a terrible run defense.
Austin Eckler getting yarded. Boone, am I muted? Real quick. Boom, perfect. All right, I would say Austin Eckler gutting that defense. Brian Robinson gutting that defense. But to me, it all goes back to, I believe it was week 5. Maybe I might be off my week. The Dallas game.
Right.
When Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. When you saw that cart coming out for Aiden Hutchinson, what was the first thought you had? And I think as Lions fans, we pretty much all had. Season's over.
That was my thought, Klotz.
Season's over. And then we see this defense going to Minnesota. They give up 29 points, but they win. And so, like, okay, this defense might have a chance. And I'm just going to use teams, for example, and I'm just going to use the Rams when they won the Super Bowl just because they had Matthew Stafford, very good team. If they didn't have Aaron Donald, they weren't winning that Super Bowl. At the end of this day, and the end of the day, and why I think Dan Campbell's so emotional is because this season was over the minute Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, and they did everything they did to overcome it. But at the end of the day, it showed. Because what does this defense, even with Aiden Hutchinson, struggle against? The mobile quarterback. And when you don't have an Aiden Hutchinson there, like I said, they probably don't even win this game with Aiden Hutchinson. But they can probably respond better. Maybe they end up winning. But the fact when Aiden Hutchinson went down, the season was over, and the rest of the season we tried to cope with it. But there's just some things, to Jeff, your point, you can't overcome. And that's why, like, I've been preaching, like, especially now, like Aaron Glenn, like, and it's tough to say just because he might now, like, be in a situation where, like, oh, I'm going to go take the job, whatever I can get. But it's like you have a chance to come back to Aiden Hutchinson next year. And with him being healthy, I just think this team overall, it's dramatically different. Like, he's one of the leaders of the team. And so to lose him like that, it sucks, man. It sucks. It was a disappointing season, but at the end of the day, like, it was the most enjoyable season I've watched up to this point. Like,
Yeah.
even last year, like, it was fun to watch last year going to the NFC Championship game. Sucks you won't be there this year, but in this season alone, you've seen that the Detroit Lions are a Super Bowl contender. And I said it even after the game. The Detroit Lions, they'll maybe not top 2, but they will finish or start the year next year as a top 3 Super Bowl contender odds because everybody realizes how good this team truly is healthy. And they're not going to go through the whole season healthy next year. It's impossible. It's an NFL team. And it's how the game is. But Aiden Hutchinson's going to be healthy. And I don't see a situation where he gets hurt like that again. You get him, Panay healthy, Jared Goff healthy, Amon-Ra healthy. This team can.
Let me. I'm gonna go. So what we're gonna do here, boys, and we're gonna bring up 2 videos Boone found, and he's been doing. I mean, Boone, you're crushing tonight. Appreciate you, brother, because he found 2 videos on Twitter that we can get to. Great content. So those who are watching, Frank Ragnow, we got Sam LaPorta. We'll get to it, but after that, we're gonna get into a little draft conversation, and then we'll close it out. But I want to talk. I want to talk about the draft too. We'll spend some time tonight. Fuck it. Yeah, we'll spend some time tonight. But first, we're gonna start. We start Frank Ragnow.
Yeah, Jared Goff.
So Frank Ragnow spoke to the media. We got Sam LaPorta as well. But Frank Ragnow said, quote, "I will ride with Goff until the day I die." Credit, as always, Jeff Rieger. Appreciate the video. But here it is. Here's Frank Ragnow.
So disappointed, frustrated, sad. It's just you put a lot of work into it. A lot of things that people don't see, and it's fall short is so frustrating.
People are going to criticize Jared, critical of his performance. What kind of words of encouragement support do you give your quarterback, and not more that it's going to be harder on them?
I will ride with Jared Goff till the day I die. Any aspect of life, football, no matter what it is. One of the most stand-up human beings, players, leaders, you name it. And I'll always have his back.
So there you go. Frank Ragnow talking about Jared Goff, and he knows what it is, man. Frank's a pro. He knows how this league works. It's a reactionary league. Its fans are reactionary, as you should be. I mean, fans should be pissed, man. Like, I don't fault fans, and we're going to talk a lot about it this week, and we're going to be pissed as well because, I mean, as much as we cover this team, we have to have a level of professionalism. We still have to, at the end of the day, be pissed off at some things, but Frank Ragnow, you know what I do appreciate about him? That dude's loyal. All right.
Yeah.
He gets what it is with Goff. He knows what the conversation is going to be. But
yeah,
there you go.
You're absolutely right. And this is something I talked about this morning. Like, it takes a certain type of guy and a certain type of character for to turn a franchise like this around. And you hear Frank Ragnow talk about it, saying he's going to ride with Goff till he dies. The whole locker room, like the young guys, they look up to Jared Goff. They surround themselves around Jared Goff because he's a leader, and he has that character and that leadership to lead a locker room. And Jared Goff's been a big part of what the Lions have done, all the success, the turnaround. And like Ragnow says, I'm with him. I'm gonna ride with Goff till I die, until he hoists the Lombardi, or a few.
I mean, hopefully, the thing is with Jared Goff, too, is just like, how many teams around the NFL would wish that they had a Jared Goff?
Let's be real here. You know what? Let's have a conversation here. I would say, and for me, if you want to ask that question, how many teams will like Goff? I would say, so besides the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals,
Texans,
Commanders, that's 6. Chargers 7.
I would say there's probably 10 teams who are content with who they have compared to Jared Goff.
So 22 of the 32 teams would rather have Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, go ahead.
And that's the thing where it's like, where we can get Goff, like, he's going to have bad games where he does not look like Patrick Mahomes or does not look like Josh Allen. But to look at what Jared Goff has done in his body of work in Detroit, is remarkable. Matthew Stafford couldn't even do it. I understand the context around it, but Jared Goff, for Detroit Lions standards especially, has got the job done. And he fell short this year. This team fell short. And I was pissed off about the way that he played. I thought that he played absolutely average tonight. He played like the version of his LA self where Sean McVay was done with him and traded him. But he's going to be in Detroit for a long time to come. And he has deserved that right to say so. Is he the most talented quarterback? No, it's not even close. But is Jared Goff going to get better in his time in Detroit? I believe so. You saw it this year. This team is going to get better. And I understand that you can't guarantee that from window to window, but just look around the NFL at the teams that have been around for a long time. They've constructed like the Detroit Lions have. So this team is going nowhere. Jared Goff is going nowhere. Are there better quarterbacks? Like I said, absolutely. But with Jared Goff, it gives you consistency and it lets you know where you are. When you have Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Sam LaPorta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the tools around him, Jared Goff can play like a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. And if you have a quarterback who's playing like a top 7 quarterback in the NFL, can get you to a Super Bowl, has been to a Super Bowl before, has won an NFC championship before, was in one last season, I have more confidence than ever that he can get this team to a Super Bowl. So I'm so happy that they have Jared Goff and not Sam Darnold.
Well, the sad thing is people are going to think you're crazy for saying that shit. But it's like, I get it. It's like
Jared Goff, slow white guy. Not the funnest to look at, but he's a good quarterback. That's what it is.
And, we watch this guy week in and week out. Like, I see a lot of people from different fan bases talking about Goff. Like, we've seen his ups and downs, and there's way more ups than there are downs. Mm-hmm. Like, people just see the lowlights of Jared Goff, because does he make many highlight plays that ESPN is going to post? No. But he makes a lot of incredible throws. And he makes the correct decision, I'd say 99.9% of the time. And he plays winning football. Is he going to hurdle someone and then throw a 95-yard bomb? No. But he's going to make the correct play. Yeah. Not tonight. He played like shit tonight, respectfully.
Yeah, he played like Dookie.
He did. But, I mean, Jeff, and I'm going to keep going back to this point, because you made a great point earlier. That's only 4 games out of the past 2 seasons where it's like, Jesus, Goff, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it's only 4 times in the past 2 seasons.
Let me another thing with Goff too. Let me ask you, how many quarterbacks have made it farther than Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, than Josh Allen in the playoffs, just as far as Joe Burrow, and still put up consistent numbers and put their teams in good spots to win? Because Jalen Hurts put his team in the Super Bowl, but look at Jalen Hurts now. Jared Goff continues to continue to get better.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like,
where would you rank Goff in the NFC right now?
In the NFC, I would put him behind Stafford.
But that's still okay. Let's say hypothetically, and I personally, at this point, I'm a huge Stafford guy. I would take Goff right now, but let's just say, put that aside. Top 2 at the
top
worst.
2 in those, yeah.
That is, and that's just guys in your conference to reach a Super Bowl. That is what you want. And I always say this, and I use it on the show a lot. Football is a team game until it isn't. When it doesn't fit people's narratives, they don't think it's not a team game. But when it does, it's a team game. Yeah. Guys, it is or it isn't. Is it or not? Like when Jared, for example, I mean, Josh Allen's never made a Super Bowl. Would you look at that and say it's Josh Allen's fault? Maybe. But at the end of the day, it's always, well, Mahomes outplays him, or, you look at other things like, I don't know, like his run game, which he got James Cook now. But there's like reasons, right? It's a team game. That's why with Goff, it's like, Goff is the highest paid. He's the highest paid on your team. He's the quarterback, the most important position in football. Like, I get the criticism, but at some point, guys, we have to look at it and be like, okay, Goff played like absolute shit today. I've already said that 1,000 times. Like, I mean, he did. He played like garbage. And I know why people are going to be all over him and criticizing him. I get that, and it's well-deserved. But I said it, and I'll keep saying it. I'm going to say it all week, so be prepared. Multiple things can be true. It's Goff. It's the defense. It's the coaching today. They just coached. They were out-coached. Like, all things can be true, guys. And that's why I think if we understand that, then this week will be a lot smoother before we all fight each other and go at each other over things that are all true. Like, if seriously, if there's people in the chat that are like, well, Goff stunk today, you're not wrong. Yeah. Well, the defense was to blame. You're not wrong. They were out-coached. You're not wrong. Like, what are we arguing about?
Yeah, and like right here,
all things happened. But here's the thing. I have a bigger sample size with one of those things. And it's the defense. So all things are at fault today, but let's start with fixing what we've seen, and the injuries were just too much today. They just were. The injuries were. Hopefully next year you don't have as many injuries.
They were in, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, though, but Arlen Chambliss. I'm gonna guess that.
Yeah, let's get to the super
And
chats.
he's saying Rams won the trade, and up to this point, there's no obviously I don't think anybody's denying that the Rams got a Super Bowl. However, the Detroit Lions were able to turn around their franchise with that. So
yes,
it was productive for both sides. Obviously, the Rams won the trade. There's no denying that. But the Rams were a very more set up franchise than the Detroit Lions were at that time.
Let's get the super chats out the way. Did we read? I don't think we read Stevens.
Can I
did we? What was it? What? No, let's read the. Let's make sure we get through these, so no one, we don't leave anyone out here. Will you read it for me, Caleb? What do you say? And
Thoughts? Steven, want to try that one? I mean, tricky last name here. Van
Lorden.
I love that. So he said, thoughts on an outside hire for defensive coordinator. At this point, I don't want anyone affiliated with AG's lame ass 90s style system. Well, let me. I'll give my opinion, and then we got Sam LaPorta too, so we're gonna get to that after. So we have more footage of kind of the players talking. But I'll answer your question, Steven. Thank you for the $5. We appreciate you, brother. Outside hire for defensive coordinator. So I'm assuming he doesn't mean Calvin Shepard. He means outside hire. I would say ideally, I would be lying if I didn't mention that Robert Saleh should be the number one concern right here. Robert Saleh is the best. I would say bring him in ASAP. Now, is he going to get a head coaching job? He could. So that's the reality. There's other guys that are available. And Dan, the thing I appreciate about Dan, Steven, is he's well connected in the NFL with coaches. That's the underrated part of, and that's what the Washington Commanders beat reporter told us on Thursday when he joined the show, is Ben Johnson, if he would have took that Commanders job, he would have been a great coach, but he doesn't have as many connections as Dan Quinn, for example. Dan Quinn has a lot of pull with getting coaches. I think Dan Campbell's in that same equation. He can get pull from a lot of coaches. So even if I mention Robert Saleh, I think there's a laundry list of guys that he could get with a phone call. So it's hard for me. I don't have a list of guys, but I think whoever does replace AG, if AG leaves, which I think he will, is going to be a great hire. I mean, quite frankly, I think he has a long list of guys.
Even if it's in-house.
People would love to join this coaching staff to coach this defense. So that's where I'm at with it. Saleh, to me, would be a great hire, but he's probably going to get a head coaching job. Yeah. I'm just being honest. And I saw Matt Eberflus interviewed, and then they hired the Falcons hired Jeff Ulbrich, the Jets secondary coach or linebacker coach. So Jeff Ulbrich got hired. There's a lot of guys out there. So that's where I'm at. If you're talking about outside hire, I'd go Robert Saleh, but man, there's other guys that Dan Campbell will probably hire, and we're like, oh, that's a good hire.
Yeah.
So anyone you guys got that I didn't mention, or you guys kind of in the same boat as me? Like Robert Saleh.
Saleh's the guy for me.
Schwartz, if you could persuade him somehow.
Like to leave. Yeah. I wonder how that
would be strange.
Robert Saleh would be such a great hire, dude.
It'd be strange.
And he means outside hire, because you've been saying for years Calvin Shepard's next up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be ideal. But if you mean outside, I'll go Robert Saleh. But he's probably going to be a head coach. I see Full Slate Farm says Dennis Allen. You've mentioned that before. Bengals defensive coordinator.
Oh, why did you just ask me that? I always forget his name when I need to remember it. Give me 2 seconds. Let me jot it down the brain. Yeah, I'm not going to remember it right now.
Boone's Googling it. It's been a long night. We forgot who the
Lou Anarumo. No, it's not that.
Lou Anarumo. He's Italian. That's on me.
Yeah.
But he worked with Dan Campbell back in Miami. So
yeah,
there's other options. Peter Manning put Lou. Appreciate you, Peter. So that's where we're at with that. But sorry, Caleb, you were going to say something. I interrupted you with it. I want to get to.
No, I mean, I was going to say Shepard. I mean, but that's in-house. But I see a lot of people in the chat might be a little recent.
Are you guys? But can I say this? I'll play devil's advocate. Is there any like maybe skepticism with hiring a guy who has never been at DC before?
Yes,
to take over a championship defense.
Yes.
Is that fair?
With expectations of a Super Bowl next year, yes, I would rather have a guy that has been there. Been in that spot. That's why Robert Saleh is probably perfect. But if Dan Campbell wanted to keep it in-house, a guy that knows the building, knows the culture, knows the locker room, knows the players, it's Shepard all the way. And on the flip side, Ben Johnson, for me, it's Ingstrom.
Let me say this. Shout out my boy, man, Thomas Hassan, Eagles fan. That's my guy. I tell you guys about as an Eagles fan. Thomas says we were robbed of the Eagles-Lions championship. Sorry for your loss, brother. Thomas, fuck you. And also, you're probably going to beat the Rams, and you're probably going to beat the Commanders. So Again, fuck you. But appreciate the
Whose side are you on?
$5.
What do you mean they're going to beat the Rams? Do you know the battle I'm fighting
they're
right
probably
now?
going to.
I
man.
can't even go on my phone.
They are.
Face
But
the
Thomas,
noise.
my brother, appreciate
Got
it,
another
man.
one, Earl Howard.
Earl Howard, appreciate the $5. By the way, read all super chats. We're gonna try and get to these as soon as you guys send them. The coach, Earl Howard, says the coaches and the players overlooked this team, and it showed. Worried about these interviews instead of trying to win in advance. Earl, I said the same thing earlier, so I am with you. It's a theory of mine. It felt like the interviews, and not just that, but the bye week fellas threw this team out of whack. And sometimes it happens in the NFL, and you've mentioned this before, Klotzy, where teams, when you play every week, you're in this rhythm. It's just rhythm. And then you get a bye week, and it's great for injuries. But the thing it's not good for is
staying in rhythm.
Exactly. And then you have the staying in rhythm. But then the Commanders played a intense game last week, and they come out this week looking like they just continued that game.
It's
they were
like
ready
thinking
to play.
about like.
So I get that, Earl.
And
Appreciate it.
I know it's an analogy and everything, but thinking about like going for a run. If you go for a run at 2 p.m. after you've been waking up, moving around, been up around in your day, the run's gonna be like, okay, here we go. You wake up and you go for a run directly, you're like, oh my God, this shit fucking sucks. Like, you got to get yourself in a rhythm. And that's what I think it was. This team just came in lackadaisical, thinking it was any type of game, and they got smacked in the mouth. They were the team that's usually smacking teams in the mouth. They were usually the team that was overlooked, but it was the flip side today. The Detroit Lions are usually the team that over the last couple of years were counted out. They were a good team, but always counted out. That was the Commanders today. So they got dosed with some of their own medicine, and it cost them a playoff spot. It cost them or I should say a playoff advance. It cost them a Super Bowl spot, and it cost them honestly, kind of like a Cinderella finish on what the Detroit Lions should have been. It looked like they were the team of destiny. 15-2. They were doing everything right, even though they were losing guys. But the lights came on, were really bright, and it were exposed that the 15-2 Lions, they were frauds at the end of the day.
You know, that's the question I was going to ask you because the phrase
they were absolutely frauds.
Okay.
That's we call, and Booner, and I'm sure you guys get the context. Booner's saying that they were not frauds. If you were to show me a 15-2 Philadelphia Eagles
frauds,
team
man,
that lost in the divisional round, a 15-2 Kansas City Chiefs team that lost in the divisional round, any team in the NFL that's 15-2 has the 1 seed, a week's bye, host the 6th seed
domination
at home,
should be
and
domination.
get their ass kicked. It's a fraudulent team,
Yeah.
and I think the fraudulency of the Detroit Lions, to Jeff's credit, was the defensive side of the football. And this is a conversation I definitely want to get to later in the week. But how often throughout the last kind of stretch of the season did we say this offensive line doesn't look right?
It's been especially lately.
And we have just went through the whole season of saying number 1 offensive line in football, number 1 offensive line in football,
and then it was like
number 1 offensive line in football. But you're watching it, and is this the number 1 offensive line? Like, it's a good offense. Don't get me wrong. Good offensive line. Again, there's so many teams that wish to have that offensive line. But when you have a quarterback like Jared Goff, who's so dependent on a clean pocket, and he can make plays outside of it, not saying he can't. But when you watch this offensive line over the last month of the season, even after a bye, I mean, Kevin Zeitler was hurt tonight, but still, either way, it's like, this does not look like the number 1 offensive line in football. Like, it's a good offensive line, but there's just stretches where this offensive line does not show up in the first half of games, in the second half of games. You don't know when it's going to be, but this offensive line, I think what it honestly is you're starting to see the age wearing. Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, and then you saw the injury with no Kevin Zeitler. Early in the first drive of the game, Christian Mahogany missed that block, and that was like a huge momentum build. Usually Lions start out hot. They need to against the Commanders team, and they didn't. But there's just a lot of things where you're like,
another one right here. Oh, yeah, real quick. Before we get to this, Earl, Steve Levin did say Graham Glasgow has to go.
1 second.
You know what? I agree. And, something that Boone said earlier was it's mahogany time. Like, it's mahogany time on that offensive line. And look, I know we're going to get into draft stuff. But, like, right now, obviously there's a lot of work we have to do for the draft and everything. I might go offensive line in the first round. And then I might spend money on the defensive line.
I think you have to go inside the trenches in the first 2 rounds of the draft. Whether you go offensive in the first or second, I don't care, because you better be going defensive in the other one. There is not a single skill player that this offense needs. You have 2 tight ends. I love Brock Purdy.
It shouldn't even be
you have Sam LaPorta. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have Jamison Williams. You have Khalif Raymond, who's re-signed. You have Tim Patrick, who they better re-sign. There's no reason you shouldn't re-sign Tim Patrick. And you have the best running back duo in the NFL. Offensive skill players sign cheap guys for veteran contracts. That's fine. The team revolves around the offensive line. Jameer looked great in the first half running the ball. But Goff, all the time in the first half, he had 18 dropback, 9. He was under pressure. Jared Goff can't be under pressure. On the defense side of the ball, Caleb, do you think they could have used a defensive line today?
I mean,
do you think they have solid linebackers? Do you think they have solid safeties? They're probably going to bring Carlton Davis back. Terion Arnold, we expect to take a better jump than he looked in his rookie year. And again, I don't want a young cornerback. Sign me a veteran cornerback that has played in better situations before. If they go anywhere outside offensive, defensive line in the first 2 rounds of the draft, this is, again, Brad Holmes, like, trying to be too smart. There's a clear weakness. There's clearly something that you have to address. Don't try to be too cute. Go out there and just attack it.
Yep. And shout out Earl Howard for the $4.99. He says all year Ben was getting too cute in red zone opportunities too many times on 3rd and short and pass instead of using the best O-line in the NFL. Absolutely right. But the trend I saw a lot this year was like the third and inches, 3rd and ones. We'd go empty set, throw it, and then it would be like, okay, David Montgomery, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, there you go. But there was definitely times that happened, and I think today you saw it a little bit.
What was it, 3rd and 1 when Goff fumbled?
Yeah. And then the obviously the empty set just tough. And Klotz. This play will go down in my nightmares, guys. And this is becoming like a running joke for me. I don't even know if we're thinking of the same thing. Yeah, this play is becoming a running joke for me. Every single game. They run this slow developing counter.
I was just about to ask you that. Caleb
on like
hates his
3rd and
counterplay.
2 and 3rd and 1, and it never fucking works. Ever. And we have talented guards.
Yeah, we do.
Zeitler
That was on the
and
first
Glasgow.
drive. That was the block Mahogany missed.
And it got blown up, and it's so slow, and it doesn't work. But Gibbs scored on it today, so people are gonna be like, "No, what are you talking about?"
No,
guys,
you've been consistent,
guys. And if I could say one, I'm gonna be so upset with when Ben Johnson leaves, or if he leaves. But he could that slow developing counter. I hope
that and the wide receiver screens.
Yeah, I mean,
but
and the pitches too. Streets only says stop pitching the ball. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah. But Sam LaPorta just spoke on Jared Goff, so we're going to get that queued up real quick. Go ahead, Bill.
Let's hear it.
I think a lot of people will look at the game that Jared had and say probably not his best. How would you kind of define what your quarterback is showing you all year, and especially today?
I don't know if I'd say he wasn't at his best. I think he was out there competing, keeping plays alive. There was 10 other guys out there with him. I haven't seen the tape yet. That's really the best way to know who was in the wrong. Heck, I had some MAs tonight. I was in the wrong. I didn't do my job in some scenarios. To say it's on our quarterback it's not a fair claim. I think he competed at a high level tonight.
I think a lot of people will.
Yeah, and Sam LaPorta, one thing I will say about the whole golf conversation is we've heard nothing but these teammates of his backing him, which that's how it should be. You see a lot of organizations like the George Pickens thing, like him and Russell not on the same page. It's like weird. It's like there's weird tension.
Yeah.
There's not that with the Lions. They do handle the loss well. It still doesn't change the fact they lost to a team they should have beat, and they were heavy favorites, and it's disappointing, and they shit the bed. They melted down. But to hear Sam LaPorta say that and Frank Ragnow, man, it is it's good because coaches, a big thing you judge coaches on is do they have the locker room? Dan certainly does.
Yeah.
He has.
This team's not falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But Boone said we got an Anzo clip as well. So Boone, go ahead and cue that up because I'm actually Anzo's somebody that's interested.
Yeah, I want to hear from Anzo, team captain.
Yeah. Hold on. There we go. We're good.
All right, let's hear from Anzo.
How do you describe the emotions that you're feeling anyways right now? Yeah, I'm kind of numb. Kind of just numb.
How long does it take to? I mean, you did this last year too.
Yeah.
How long does it take to really reset and refocus?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had a kind of different year, just of, where I just came back the last game. So it's kind of just you gotta process it, and it's like grieving. And you go through the different stages. You go through
denial, you go through, sorrow and all the whatever the 5 stages are. So it's just like that.
Hey, Alex, how tough is it to assess this overall season? I mean, 15-2 best record ever.
Yeah, and we knew none of that. When you get in the playoffs, none of that even matters. None of that. It's one and done. So, there's stuff to be proud of, but at the same time, we came short of our goal, and that's one team's gonna be happy at the end of the year, and it's not us.
You've been close a few times to getting to where you want to go. Each time you fall short, that reminder how hard it is in the season to finish the job.
Yeah, and that's why when you get like one game away, it's last year it's tough, and this year it's just like it almost seemed like we just didn't go our way and we didn't necessarily deserve it. So you're just kind of numb to it to a certain extent. At least I am. But to get this far, it should be the expectation going forward, and hopefully they'll learn lessons along the way.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, Anzalone's the voice of the entire defense.
He is. And to see him be able to be optimistic like that, and obviously he's hurting right now after that loss, but Anzo's going to be back for another year.
Yeah,
obviously they had a tough stretch with Anzo being out, but Anzalone's a guy that's going to come back, and I know it's tough to say, but year in year he gets better.
Yeah,
I expect Anzo, again, he's not going to probably take the jump that a young player would, but Anzo's going to get better. He's going to be fired up.
Jack Campbell,
too, especially Jack Campbell and Anzo together. I mean, Anzalone on the stat sheet had a good game tonight, but it wasn't a game where Alex Anzalone had his footprint all over the game. It seemed like this whole defense was just reacting to what the Commanders were doing instead of making plays. But Anzo's exactly the type of the guy that you want in the locker room right now.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere. He's going to hear all this noise, and he's going to come out motivated next year, and he's going to make damn sure the other 10 guys on that defense are on the exact same mindset. But the thing is with this defense, you don't have to do that. Brian Branch,
no,
Aiden Hutchinson,
no,
Carlton Davis. You don't got to worry about that with this defense. So this defense going to come back next year ready to fucking kill.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see it.
You know what, Boone? Can I get an air horn for that? Can I just quick?
Hey,
Can I get an air horn, please, Boone? Give me an air horn.
Orange square. That works too. That he hit that.
The cricket.
He just hit every button on the side.
Get the air
horn. Come on, Boone.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. So, and by the way, shout out to Easy. Love you, brother. He says in the chat, what do he say? He said, no way you're blaming the coordinator and not the $50 million quarterback.
The blame's on both.
Yeah, honestly, I will say Ben Johnson and Easy. I want to know where you're at with this. I'm upset with some of the plays when they were
Jamison
called.
Williams
throw a football is a little extra. Not calling a trick play. It's what it was that I had an issue with.
3rd and 1, dropping back when you have David
and by the way,
Montgomery results in a fumble.
By the way, David Montgomery wasn't even in the backfield, so the defense knew what they were doing. They're throwing the football. Yeah, it was a little frustrating. You're 3rd and 1, but Jared Goff deserves the time. I mean, the dude shit the bed today.
There's outside of the skill offensive players for the Detroit Lions, offensive line deserves.
They both crap.
Quarterback deserves.
Jared
blame.
crapped the bed more than Ben, but they both did not have a great game plan
they didn't help.
today.
Usually there's a balance.
Yeah,
there was just
Jared deserves more blame. And I will say, appreciate. We have literally over 400 people in here. Appreciate the hell out of you guys, man. And you know what? We got a dope team here, man. We're gonna continue to grow. Appreciate the hell out of you boys. And we also have been indulging in this Grit City Detroit Lions edition. This liquor, and by the way, drink responsibly, of course. You have to be 21, but the boys are indulging because it's a celebratory moment. Not hold on, not for the loss, but at this point, it's
First season under our
at the end of the day, what are you going to do? They lost. It sucks, but you know what? We're going to keep pushing and keep moving and keep making content, and we are going to be back for this upcoming season because the reality is the Lions shit the bed, but crunch time is going to continue to cover all Detroit sports. And we appreciate all of you, Klotzy, Caleb, Booner, Gentry, all of you in the chat, the members, the super chats, all of you guys. We appreciate the hell out of you.
Easy. Booner says hi.
Booner said hi. And we're going to drink. If you guys don't drink, maybe you're smoking weed. Maybe you're doing whatever you're doing. But have a great night. It's Saturday night. You guys are up with us at 2 a.m. and we appreciate the hell out of you. We will be live. And we're going to talk about this more Monday. But appreciate the hell out of you, man. Have a great weekend. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of things to be frustrated about. And you guys have every right to be frustrated. You do. It was a shit performance. It was a meltdown. And at the end of the day, The Lions have to come back next year, man, and do it again, but do it better and execute better and not disappoint an amazing fan base.
Brad draft win now play.
Yes, and we're going to be covering the draft. Best Lions draft content in the city. And Tiger Town says, talk some Lions draft, right? We will. We'll cover the draft.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. We're about 80 or 90 away from 12K.
And I'm just going to address this easy comment now because it's going to bother me all night.
Mhm.
But he brought up, I'm clicking through random comments right now. Excuse me. The vodka is now hitting me. I think J-Mo fucked up on that play. Everyone over the age of 13 knew to throw the ball out of bounds if the wide receiver's not wide open like Joy Taylor. Great little joke that he made inside there. But the point is, with Benjamin, why is everyone knows that? Why is J-Mo throwing the football there? And that's our whole point. He's the most inexperienced player on that team offensively. Outside of I'd say even Jahmyr Gibbs has more experience than him. So J-Mo should not even be when you're down. But if you're up by a touchdown, I get that. But when you're down trailing, to have Jahmyr Gibbs off the field when you just handed the ball off to David Montgomery, then Tim Patrick, and now you're trying to throw the ball with Jamison Williams. That wasn't a smart play call. If you want to do a trick play, that's fine. Throw out another hook and ladder there. You've seen that work 3 or 4 times. Do something consistent.
And Miss Karen Porter says, I definitely don't drink nor smoke nor drug substance and definitely don't use any kind of profanity to the language. Well, Karen, you're a saint. We appreciate you for watching.
One on one.
Yeah, and you don't have to indulge in anything. But the boys, we're going to have a night. And honestly, this post game, I'm going to give some final thoughts for the fellas, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Because I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. This sucks. It does. It sucks. The Lions lost. It stinks. But at the end of the day, we'll talk about all the shortcomings this week. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about it. We're going to cover it. We'll try to be the voice of reason for you guys. So tune in Monday. But at the end of the day, guys, this was a season that unfortunately I knew the ending. I did. And I hate that. I did, man.
I will say I knew this Grit City vodka is indeed working. It's starting to work on me. Jeff is fucked right now.
No, I'm not. No, hold on. I it's not even. Did I think they were losing the Commanders? Absolutely not. But this defense, I mean, dude, it sucks. They have to be better than that.
Hashtag Jeff was right.
But
hashtag Jeff was right.
This was supposed to be me saying I was wrong when the Lions win a Super Bowl.
Did you guys bring up the Jared Goff?
Because
at all,
Klotzy, hold on. I was supposed to come to
we can bring it back up.
Hold on, boys. I was supposed to come to you boys and say, you know what, boys, I was wrong. They won a Super Bowl. Defense was good enough.
You were banking on it. You wanted to be proven wrong. This wasn't supposed to be.
No, that's not an argument. There's arguments I want to win. Certainly, me and Booner go at it. I want to win those arguments. Okay. But this was an argument I didn't want to win.
You won, but at what cost?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to win this one. I did. I wanted to be wrong. Okay. But the reality is the Lions got work to do, and the football gods fucked them this year. They did with the injuries.
Big time.
And next year, the Lions will be back in the playoffs, and they will not lose after in their first playoff game. I promise.
Caleb, you're about to give us your final thoughts, but I do have a question, or more so a statement. Yeah, Boone, it's happening.
Go ahead, Klotzy. What are your final thoughts?
Statement. If you're watching this, never, ever, 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 and I will say ever again, in your life, do the Jared Goff fucking chant. Okay? I had to hear all week about how important it was for the city, what it meant for the city.
Yeah.
Do you know if you look back on all those videos, you're like, holy shit, we look just dumb. We look dumb. He's our quarterback, but at the end of the day, you don't hear Baltimore fan chant, Lamar Jackson. Like, cut it out. It's done. It's over with. It was fun while it lasted. No more Jared Goff chants. But Caleb, your thoughts on that and just your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Still blindsided. Upset. Brutal. I mean, just brutal. Got outcoached, outplayed. We were I don't even know if we were the better team.
Not today.
No.
Not today,
Bro,
man.
The Lions would have lost to any team in the playoffs. The Houston Texans, they would have lost today.
They would have lost.
And
like that.
I said this earlier, like I was on the fence. Like I thought the offense was going to be able to take us to the promised land. I thought this team was different. I thought they were an anomaly from every other past Super Bowl winner. I thought we were going to be able to win without defense, but I was very, very, very much wrong. And look, very wrong. And, I'm going to say this too. I've said it a million times already. I'm a golf guy through and through, played like shit tonight, but I'm telling you right now, that's going to be the guy hoisting the Lombardi. I mean, I'm not.
Not Hendon Hooker, huh?
Can I get the crickets?
Yeah, that's a cricket moment.
But yeah,
Doc surprised me.
That was crazy. That was crazy. If you missed it, we had Doc on.
Go back and watch.
Legend, yeah, go back and watch. Absolute legend. And he basically said, like, do they maybe look in like for a more mobile quarterback, like to draft a more mobile quarterback?
One. Seems Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But I don't know if he's good enough. But I don't know if he's as good as Jared Goff, though. We haven't seen enough sample size.
The playmakers they have.
But I'm not going that route today. I'm just not. And I was, guys know me, man. I was wrong, and I already talked about it. Hendon Hooker will start next season for the Lions. I was wrong about that, and I like Hendon still. I do. I just don't. They paid Goff. That's their quarterback. I mean, that's their quarterback.
But
again,
again,
Jeff, no. Both. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
You know why?
Why?
We just had 12,000
Hit
subscribers.
I mean,
come
on.
Oh, what was that? What was that, Booner?
No, 12,000 views on the stream. Which, by the way, for those
he was talking about the whole time.
Hold on.
Talking about the whole time.
Hold on.
You asshole.
But for those who are watching, we are 80. We are 83 subs away from 12K.
Okay, well there we go. Hey, so
everyone in the stream, like it, please. And but that's huge for us. Like the stream, it helps push it out in the algorithm. We'd appreciate the hell out of it. Subscribe. We're 83 away from 12K, which is a big milestone for the boys. Almost a year since we started this, guys. It's been a great ride. We're going to continue to cover the Lions. I think we do a great job of it. We have talented people here. So
the best.
We have the best. And we will be back on Monday. Content every single day. Until then, Jeff Iafrate, Lukas Klotz, the ball nowhere. We got Caleb Czarnik, the young goat. We got Booner as well, the king of really the Booner path, and also the Kool-Aid chugging goat. Demon. But until Monday, love you all. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for just really your presence. Choosing to watch us on a late night on Saturday. We will catch you Monday. Until then,
peace.
This is the saddest Go Lions ever. Go Lions.
All right. Post-game press conference video. I don't know. That was, and I'll say this too, best season in franchise history for the Detroit Lions. And at the same time, it was the most disappointing season in franchise history for the Detroit Lions. What happened and what just went down over the last 3 hours was one of the most disappointing things that I've ever seen out of this team over the last few years. You have a week off, 15-2, number 1 seed, NFC North champs, 9.5-point favorites, and you go in there and you lay an egg. You were outcoached. Dan Campbell outcoached. Ben Johnson outcoached. Aaron Glenn outcoached. Jared Goff. The turnovers. In the biggest game of the year, you're right back to turning the ball over. I'm shaking right now. I'm angry. I was supposed to drink this today. I'm going to take a sip out of respect for the season. I don't know if I can right now. Brad Holmes, you guys have to figure out this. Injuries, yes, that was a problem. You have to figure out this defense in the offseason. You have to go get players. You have to draft defense. There's no more excuse next year. You win a Super Bowl next year, or it's the most disappointing season in franchise history. This was embarrassing, uncalled for, uncharacteristic. I don't even know. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. Like outcoached, outperformed, outplayed. Simple as that. There's nothing else to say. The Kool-Aid retired until next year. We'll figure this out later. I can't do this right now.